Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
2-1. Short liner into right field, drops in front of Frank. Coming around to score is Stone. The throw in is cut off. Bush fires it to third, but Evans slides in. As with 2 outs in the inning, the rally continues. The right-handed bat pinch hitting for Sam Bush. As on first pitch swinging, that one's lined into right field, going up the hill, and that is a diving catch by the right fielder, Case Sanderson, with an incredible grab. 1-1 pitch flown into right field. The right fielder slips coming in, but Mangum recovers and brings it in for out number 3. And the Cornhuskers in a pitcher's duel pull this one out 2-1 with the win over the Spartans here in Game 1.
Bottom of the circle, centering pass, pass off escape, rebound, they score! G.T. Miller!
Sends it around the board for Wenberg. He's trying to play out home. It's fired out. Johnny empty net! An empty net goal! Barkley Goodrow. The Rangers lead 5-3.
Here's Anthony Edwards. Pulls for 3. Got it! Minnesota on all cylinders. Defense to offense, and the lead is 18. The final horn sounds and the 56-win Minnesota Timberwolves. An answer delivered. Down 3-2, led by as many as 50. And they run roughshod over the defending champs. 115-70 the final, and there will be a Game 7 Sunday in Denver.
Good morning. Welcome in to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, live from the Pillar Exterior stage. DB, what's up, buddy?
What's up, my man? How we doing?
Oh, you know, just
You're short a couple drinks.
I am short a couple drinks today. You know, it's I just have the energy drink so far. We're gonna have to make do this morning. You know, we're battling some adversity, getting
Godspeed.
getting through all the odds here.
Wow.
You know, it's tough out here for your boy.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
You're short a couple of drinks, and I'm wearing
What do we have
a
there?
SpongeBob Band-Aid. So we're just gonna have to battle today.
You know, it's it's like Coach Rule said, just gotta battle through adversity.
Man,
That's where you learn who you really are, and we'll get through it, I think.
I
Hopefully.
talked to him for quite a while yesterday. It's a very busy schedule.
Yeah, they've been active.
Yeah,
Out on the recruiting trail.
and he's got to go. His son is got speech at state.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he's got, still parenting. He's back there in Charlotte, trying to get in, get out. Said I'll be there about 18 hours.
Hey, that's a nice little quick trip, huh?
Man, I don't know. Would you want to return?
No,
I don't think I would.
not at
either.
all.
I,
That was entirely sarcastic. That
Man.
sounds terrible.
man, these reports are crazy. I just wish we could pump in audio, as we've had like breaking news after not after breaking news this morning, but this what's going on with Scotty Scheffler, and you can reset it here in a second as we welcome you in live from Pillar Exterior, our sound stage, where it's just immaculate, and Shane's over there sitting in his little birdhouse. But it's interesting to watch when sports figures and legal matters collide real time.
Yeah.
Because it's such a delicate thing to say. And I guess you can state the obvious. Yep, he's the #1 golfer in the world. Yep, he's Scotty Scheffler. I'm not sure what that's going to have to do in the grand scheme of things when you're relaying the story. I'm not sure how that's going to come off.
So let me offer this. Is it for people that, so if you don't pay any attention to golf, like, do you maybe not realize it's a big deal that it's Scotty Scheffler? Like, if you haven't watched golf,
not so much that, but how about if you're just a police officer trying to do his job? Do you care that it's Scotty Scheffler?
Well, apparently this one did not.
Well, I don't think he should, though.
I don't either.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like,
but when you're reporting it, then the general public is going to care that it's Scotty Scheffler, right?
Sure, yeah. That's part of the draw.
Yes.
That's part of the. That's
why it's a story.
That's why it's a story on ESPN.
Because if it's, I don't know, pick a guy, pick Tony Finau, good golfer.
No, I think not any, but a lot of golfers, I think would warrant this. I'd say anybody in the top 30.
Maybe.
it could be Justin Thomas, and he's not in the top 30.
Yeah, but people know Justin Thomas more than they know. Like, there's some like if it was what was there Gim that was
yeah
that was playing really well yesterday.
The Gim Reaper.
Yeah, like no one knows who that is really unless you're really into golf. Even though he's a good golfer,
That would probably be a better one. And
yeah, so Finau's a bad one, but that's just I'm trying to come up with a random golfer name off the top of my head. But let's say it's Gim, right? And he had a really good day yesterday. You'd probably have to give a lot of context for people to even know that was a person and like that they should be reporting about
compared to
Scheffler or even like a Xander Schauffele who played really well yesterday.
So I could see this from both sides because to reset the story, at least it's
as much as we know,
it's fairly fluid. He apparently tried to go around what would be
a blockade.
A blockade,
yeah,
right. And he drove on the median.
And the blockade was there because there had been an accident earlier, not related to him.
Yeah, that part is after. Like I'll get to that part in a second,
sure.
Because if he would have known that,
I'm sure he doesn't do.
Yeah, I don't want to talk real time as though he knows what's going on in real time. Yes. So we're afforded the luxury of getting the scene set after,
right?
Because he's got a tee time, which there's no way I don't think he can make. He's scheduled to go at 7:47.
Well, I guess we don't know is he still being detained?
he's still detained.
Okay, so
as far as I know, when I pulled in,
right. So that's where you have I know they pushed everybody's tee times like an hour and a half, hour 20.
Yeah, because
nobody can get in.
You can't get to Valhalla,
right? So I don't think they did that specifically for him. It's more of an access for everyone issue,
right?
But I don't know. Like, obviously, you're not supposed to clear police blockades. I don't know what he's done would continue to have him be detained unless there's more to the story. You know what I mean?
So it could just be
like a procedural thing.
Well, I'm sure is there a move over? If there's a move over law,
yeah, I don't know.
Clearly violated that
in Kentucky. I don't
know. But the thing about it is I'm just going by the descriptions, right? So the car drove
coming from Jeff Darlington of ESPN.
The car drove another 10, 15 yards.
Yeah.
On the median with somehow the officer attached to the vehicle.
Yeah, that sounds like the police officer jumped on the vehicle.
Like, hey, stop.
Yes.
See, and right then for the car to keep moving, like
that's a problem.
Yep. I don't care if you're.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And so.
Because all of a sudden, I theoretically think that would open you up to like potentially assaulting an officer, things like that.
Oh yeah.
If you're driving a car that an officer is attached to,
and you haven't been, no articulable suspicion has been said to you, so you're not resisting arrest, but it would be something like that. It's not resisting arrest because you haven't been placed under arrest.
Yeah.
But
so Sasha just texted us that she keeps hearing that the players and the people involved in the tournament were supposed to have the right to bypass.
So yes and no. They were taking carts.
Gotcha. Okay, so not
getting in the vehicle. They were taking.
So they
carts.
were coming to get them from their car. Okay, that makes sense.
So, but the thing about it, let's say that's right.
Mm-hmm.
The whatever was described that happened when he got there that took 15 to 20 seconds for him to roll down his window.
Mm-hmm.
These are according to eyewitness reports.
Yeah.
And the officer sticking his arm in the car to pull him out. Something clearly transpired there. Right. And I don't know if the officer was just angry because
of everything else going on.
He put him in harm's way.
Yeah.
I just think if I'm law enforcement, and I get it, at some point I do have to de-escalate. But let's say you're clearly in the wrong. Continuing through on the median. I assume his car was marked. I don't know if it was. The Scheffler's.
Yeah.
I imagine that I'm probably bothered that you're driving with me on your vehicle. I wonder what was said.
Like, how did we get to that point?
How did we get to the point where he's reaching in the vehicle? Would Scheffler not come out?
Because
did he not? Was it so fast that Scheffler didn't know what was going on?
Well, so that was the other thing that I was going to say is
he's like, what is going on?
Well, and especially don't know
if he thought he had clearance.
Yes, especially if he thought he had clearance.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe he was told or got a text or whatever, like, hey, players are going to be able to bypass that. Maybe he didn't read it right and realize it was a cart situation versus a car situation. The other thing is I don't know. We don't know what the officer we don't know what the officer looked like in that situation. Like, are they in full uniform? Is this somebody who's working off-duty security, helping out at a tournament that we see all the time?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, so like if you're not suited and booted as an officer and I'm a guy and you're reaching in my car, I'm probably trying to get away from you.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it's the same guy that was attached to your car.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if there is someone and if he's not in full uniform.
Okay, so at what point would you be like, okay, let me see what's going on here. Would you want to, excuse me, would you want to get to where people could see you in case you needed help with this particular individual?
Yes. Like if they're not fully in uniform, and maybe they were, I'm speculating here based on other events I've been to where police officers will work as private security in their off hours. And sometimes they're in full uniform, sometimes they're not. If someone is, especially if it looks like they have a weapon, which when you're working in private security, usually you have your firearm with you, right?
Yeah.
If I see someone that has a firearm and is not clearly law enforcement, and again, this is a guess, I don't know, I'm going to keep driving. Yeah. I want nothing to do with that person either on my car or reaching into my car.
Yep, I could totally see that too, because I'm just trying to think of all aspects
of how on earth this happened, right?
So if he gets that close to Valhalla and he pulls in,
he probably thinks he's in the clear or past security or whatever.
Or his car, he's either been waved in or his car's marked.
Yes, right. And then being stopped in a situation that you don't understand, like, yeah, maybe he did freak out a little bit.
The police officer?
No, I mean both.
Scheffler.
Really, but like I'm talking about Scheffler specifically. If somebody's reaching in my car, somebody's trying to jump on my car, like, yeah, I might have a panic situation there. Because I'm trying to figure out in a world where this makes any sort of sense. Right? Like, how do we get to the...
It's very bizarre.
How do we get to the point where the officer is reaching into the car? How do we get to the point...
Because I think at that point, Scheffler is clearly not wanting to come out, or maybe the police officer didn't articulate what he was upset about.
Or what was going on, right? Because how do we get to the point where Scheffler needed to get out of the car? Is that because he hopped a curb? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's...
Oh, I'm sure. Right? Like, you can't envision that?
No, I can envision a point like, okay, if I hop a curb...
I don't have to think too far about why the officer would want Scheffler to step out of the vehicle.
If it's after he hopped the curb, right? That makes sense.
Well, he got in on the median.
Okay, but why was, like, what happened to that point where he felt either he needed to or was supposed to get up on the median to pass?
Why was he going around, you mean?
Yes. Like, what was it not communicated to him what was happening? What, or was he just like, oh, I have to get to my tee time and wasn't paying attention? You know, like, that's the part I don't understand.
I'm trying to think of those. The closest thing that I can think of to being in that situation where I tried to bypass what everybody else was doing is pulling into the stadium. Right? Because you have a media lane, you have pedestrians, police stop you, and you're supposed to show your parking permit. Police can either wave you on, or if they can't see it or it's obstructed, sometimes I'll see them stop vehicles ahead of me. Like, I don't, and I know that those vehicles for the most part, know where they're going. Would they keep going anyway because that's just what they do? I could maybe see that happening.
Well, so there's reports now that A, Scheffler's been released from custody, and that B, and this is, I'm just going from what people are telling me on Twitter. I'm trying to read in real time here, but obviously that doesn't always make for good radio. It sounds like the car above or before him was let through.
So he thought,
So maybe he didn't understand the situation of like, hey, my car is marked.
So,
I've got my pass.
So that's what I'm saying was, the car in front of him maybe was marked, but was his, because if his wasn't, and the other car was, I could see it.
Sure.
If they were both marked, then I don't know
why was he being stopped.
I don't know what to.
And that's what we don't know. we'll try and figure out more about this as we figure it out. It sounds like Scheffler has been released, according to one of WOWT's sister stations in Louisville.
Gosh, would you want to golf? I don't know if I'd want to golf. Would I shake that off?
I don't know if I'd shake it off, but like, what else are you gonna do? I mean, you're the number one player in the world.
You keep saying that.
I'm just saying, you play like
well, there is a human component to it
for sure, but there's also a human component in the sense of this is the thing that he likely cares about. It's a major championship like he probably cares about that to a degree in which he will try and do whatever he needs to. Otherwise, why is he trying to get through in the first place? You know what I mean? Like
he's going to work.
I get that.
Right. So he's going to work.
Yeah.
Cares about it. Would you show the same fortitude
I would
back
try
to do your job?
I would try. I don't know if I would.
So
but
that's
try.
It's plausible. It's a fair question, all right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Which may or may not have anything to do with being the number one ranked player in the world. We're just bypassing the human element.
No, I'm not bypassing the human element, but I'm also saying like, okay, if I'm like looking like I'm probably not gonna make the cut today, maybe I'm not as, like if let's say I'm a good golfer still, expected to do well. I had a terrible day yesterday. Let's say I shot like a 76 or something, and then I go out there and I had this day. Like, yeah, maybe I withdraw. Maybe I'm like, you know what? I'm it's not my weekend. Let's call it. Right.
I wonder if what I wonder. Go ahead, Shano.
I was going to say I would think that the PGA would allow for this and allow for tee times to be moved for all the golfers.
They've already pushed back the start time, right? But the fact that where we started this out was okay. This is very interesting to be reporting his status in the world as it relates to non-golfers or non-number one ranked people. Compared to what was allegedly done.
Yeah, what actually happened.
And how important those two things are. Because what if it was a do you know who I am kind of deal?
And maybe it was.
Like, I mean, that's if it's a do you know who I am kind of deal, I could clearly see how
that escalates super quickly.
Yeah,
100%. It almost always does. The "Do you know who I am" thing is probably the least successful line in history. Because clearly they do not.
I know, but it's just interesting to listen to you give me, things that could have happened, and we keep going back to status. See, I think that's one thing that aggravates law enforcement to no end.
So I'm talking about status in the reporting, more so than the actual incident, right?
No, listen to what I'm telling you. Sure you are, but it all describes situationally his place in the world, which is probably what he's thinking too.
Sure.
So when we're talking about it, like, and again, I get the attention to and why he's important. Like if his name was John Smith, we're probably still not doing this, although it would be an interesting story. It would just be,
probably on the bottom line,
patron tries to get through blockade. I mean, because all the while, like the police officer could truly be saying to themselves, in his or her head, listen, there's a fatality. Like someone has died.
Right, and it's possible again because
and whether Scheffler knew that or not,
we don't know.
Whether he knew that or not is inconsequential. If he knew it, it's even worse. If he didn't know, you can't want him to think how the police officer's thinking because the police officer does know. So if we're going to take what he's thinking into account, Scheffler, we have to also take what the police officer is thinking into account.
Well, and it's entirely possible because
I'm not so sure that part is super important, especially because you can't have it both ways. If the car ahead of him got in and he knew, you're being dismissive of the job that they were. You could be perceived as being dismissive of the job that they were trying to do while you're driving with him on your car. Because if that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
They keep saying attached. I don't know what that looks like.
Maybe the guys. Because when I say attach, I don't really know what that means. I assume it means jumping or like holding onto the car. It could just mean that he kept Like, is it possible that Scheffler was trying to just roll through and then the officers stuck their arm in the window? Because that would be sort of attached to the car, right?
Yeah, but the arm didn't go in the car as I'm reading his reports until he wanted Scheffler to step out of the car.
Okay. So I think it is fair to both wonder what Scotty Scheffler knew versus
because the guy that the people that they're showing on the car, like the footage they're releasing, like that guy is in a neon coat. So is he security? Was he police? What's underneath?
Right, that's what I mean. Like if some random dude, whether that's not clearly an officer, and it's like, okay, even if he's not random in the sense of a stranger, but somebody that's security versus law enforcement, that distinction matters.
Yeah, 100%. I could see the confusion for Scheffler, for sure.
Let's get to, I assume Michael Severe here has
it's got an apostrophe in it.
I know, right? There might be other Michaels out there, but Michael Severe has some police context for us here. What's going on, Michael?
Hey, what's up? This is quick story time. So, I used to
Story time with Michael. Story time with Michael. Peanut butter jelly time.
That's how your whole music sounds to me too. So I'm going to work and I get a call on the way to work saying, "Hey, there's a code 4. Somebody was shot. It happened at this convenience store in South Omaha. I need you to get over there." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So of course, immediately I start driving a little bit faster. And you know that little Robert's Dairy over there off of Cummings?
Yeah.
There's a little light.
That's where I get on the interstate on 24th. Yeah.
Exactly. So right after the entrance, there's a little light there. And I didn't see it. I literally did not see the light. So I run through the light and I get to the light and man, just cherries are going up behind me. 2 police cars. And they come flying behind me. I immediately pull over, of course. Well, after a little bit, I didn't see them. I'll admit, it's 2:30 in the morning. I wasn't paying attention as well as I should have. Anyway, so I pull over finally. They get up there. They come, you get out of the car, look. So finally, I get out of the car. Guy walks up to me, and he's like, Severe, what the hell are you doing? And I said, well, there's this code 4. This guy got shot over here off of 30th Street. And he's like, he did? I didn't hear that. And they gave me an escort to the actual event because they wanted to get the reporter there faster because we had conversation. We had communication. I told him what I was doing. He realized who I was, why I was going there. I had a good excuse for hitting the light. And that's what you need. We need communication in this world. And I guarantee you, no one stopped to have some communication with Scotty Scheffler. That's why he was in the back of a police car.
Okay, but wait, though. So who's that on? Because Scheffler's thinking, I got to go to work. The officer's thinking, I've got a fatality.
It's always on the cop, Damon. The number one thing police officers have to do, and they'll tell you this, is de-escalation. They have to communicate with the person they're talking to, de-escalate the situation, and try to get the... You know what? A cop will tell you this. The last thing you want to do is more paperwork.
Okay, but how did we get
whatever you can do to avoid paperwork.
When was he going to talk to him if he's like, how'd we get from being on the median to him being attached to the car, though, right?
First of all, I don't know why any human being would try to attach himself to a moving vehicle. Unless you think you're Superman or sort of X-Man or something, you shouldn't be attaching yourself to a vehicle. You're going to get that car. He's not getting away. He's going into the property, right? Yeah. So there's no reason to physically try to stop a 2,000-pound car. It's stupid. But once he gets him out of the car, he's like, where the hell are you going? I golf here. I'm in a courtesy car. My name's Scotty. Give him his ID. He's got a tour card. And then after that, you figure out, hey, you shouldn't have gone around this. You tell him this, and then you go on. You move on. It's a non-story. That's what it should have been.
Gotcha.
It shouldn't have been to this point. And now Louisville PR people are having to deal with this. The PR person for the police department having to deal with this. It's going to get to the mayor's office. Everybody's going to be in hot water over this, only because someone didn't have a conversation and de-escalate the situation.
That's Michael Severe. We appreciate it, Michael, and appreciate the context there, bud.
All right, thanks, Mike.
We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube as well from the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Coming up here on the show, before we hop into more Scotty Scheffler talk, we've got Anthony Stabile at 7:45, talk about the Preakness. We've got Kevin Iole at 8:45 to talk about Tyson Fury and Usyk. It's
Usyk.
Usyk.
Yeah.
I always want to throw an
very
H in there.
gentlemanly press conference.
Very, very, just pretty calm for a boxing press conference.
Hey, I'd like to wish you the best. Hey, I'm going to let my hands do the talking. Hey, assalamu alaikum.
We've got Mike Sautter at 9 a.m.
It's very cordial.
And Matt Vrzal at 9:45.
Two not very cordial folks.
Well, it depends on the day. We'll see how that goes. But we were kind of getting into with Michael there about how Scheffler found himself in this position and how the law enforcement officer found themselves in that position as well. And Michael brought up a very good point. What are you trying to accomplish ever in any situation by jumping on a vehicle?
Did you read the charges, though?
I saw the smug shot. I haven't seen the charges yet.
Yeah, Scheffler was charged with second-degree assault of a police officer. That hence probably the moving vehicle thing. Third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, disregarding traffic signals from an officer, directing traffic, and he's been released on his own recognizance.
That's
unbelievable.
Was the officer trying to jump out of the way and just ended up on the car?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
I mean, that's a possibility.
Look at what we're doing here. We are now showing mugs. I don't know. I'm always fascinated on the interaction emotionally with law enforcement.
Yes, and I understand you're asking for these people to make rational, logical decisions in emotionally heightened situations in real time.
That's in essence law enforcement. Right?
I'll say, but I'm also asking that because that is the job.
Yeah.
Right. And it can be like, oh man, it's tense and it happens fast or whatever. It's like, okay, if there's two people in that situation, then one of them is trained and it is their job to be able to act well when something is happening fast. And the other one is the citizen, right? I'm more willing to excuse I don't know what Scotty Scheffler did. Maybe he did something awful. I don't know. Right. And this is way on him and whatever. Maybe the officer did everything right. And Scotty Scheffler was just like, I got to get to my tee time. I don't know. But I'm way more likely to be forgiving of the citizen whose job it is not literally their job to be able to de-escalate and act logically in an emotionally heightened situation. My lean is that direction, full disclosure, because I expect the police officer to be able to keep his cool in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, that is the job.
I mean, that's not asking too much, right?
No. I always try to think about what everybody else is thinking too. I remember this wasn't too long ago. Shane, do you remember this? This was last summer. And I was getting on the freeway.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Heading north. Heading south from Ames, 30th and Ames. It's probably 2:15 in the day. Okay. Coming from the gas or grocery store. Right there on the corner. And on the on-ramp, there's a sheriff that is facing south. Okay. So I get on the freeway heading south. He gets off the embankment and follows me. Okay. I never told this story the full story, but I did tell brief, something just was weird. So by the time I got to what would be the Lake Street exit, and I went back and timed it, it's about 19 seconds. Okay, if you're going 60, 19 seconds roughly. And he hit me with the lights. So I pulled over. And he was full disclosure, he's a good dude, right? He's like, hey, ran the plates. What do you say? Ran your plates. Your license came back as expired. I was like, no. I said, there was some miscommunication with the drivers because I told this funny driver's ed story about getting my license a couple weeks earlier, and I said, maybe it's just the paperwork, but that would be surprising if I didn't have my driver's license. And he said, well, do you know you don't have a front license plate on your vehicle? He said, this is a nice vehicle. What year is it? And I said, oh, it's a whatever, 2022 or whatever I said. I go, may I ask what the infraction was? Like, what was the original thing that you
Why he was running your plates
why
in the
you
first
ran my
place.
plates?
Yeah.
And I believe I'm not. This is important too, right? But I'm 99% sure he said no front license plate.
Mm.
And I said, is that a secondary offense or is that a primary
Yeah.
offense? And he said, well, you need to go get a tag. And he was really cool. So I didn't think much of it. Although I was like, why, if you're not even facing me. Like,
Yeah.
what did you see that I didn't have a license
in the
plate in your rear
view?
view mirror?
Yeah.
Or what, right? And he's like, hey, until we get this cleared up, I'm going to have you leave your vehicle. I was like, wow, really? I said, well, I don't really want to leave it on the interstate. Can I pull around? Can you follow me to the Boys and Girls Club? Because it was right around the corner. He's like, yeah, no problem. So he pulled in and waited, and I had to wait. And so when I got home, like I called, I have a domestic lawyer, I have a contract lawyer, I have a criminal lawyer, right?
Mhm.
So I called my guy and I was like, does this sound right to you? And my lawyer was like, no, it really doesn't. What? And I reset the whole thing, and he was cool. Did he drop the betting thing? Yeah, he did, which kind of further bugged me. But I thought, as nice as he was, it wasn't that big of a deal, right? As God is my witness, and I kept the letter. I even took a picture. 6 days later in the mail, I got a letter saying that they were, please disregard, never happened. The city, this, that, and the other. Doesn't mean that I was exonerated, or doesn't mean that what was alleged didn't occur. The state's just choosing not to pursue it at this time. And in my head, I was like, I wonder if he was getting ready to either do police paperwork or what. And somebody was like, I don't know, this is kind of sketchy. Like, I don't know if we on what. I still don't understand to this day.
Yeah.
I just understand that it was dropped. And I asked Nats, I was like, there's no way. Because it was over the 4th of July weekend. And he was in Okoboji when I called him, and he's like, I'll take a look at it on Monday when I get back. And I had the letter on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
So
and
it's
it
probably
was
not
and,
something
and,
your lawyer
and it was
did.
and it was dated
pre.
Yeah.
So basically the day it got.
So I say all that to say I think the communication that was had helped. But I don't know why it went that far to begin with.
How did you get there?
Right? But it was super, like and when I was telling, because I was a little bothered, but when I was telling the story, people kept asking me the conversation. I just was honest. I was like, he was way cool, except for the nice car bit. Like,
yeah, that is kind of the part that's sitting with me weird, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, he just,
he just, what? Like, what does that have to do with anything that happened there?
I understand.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
I mean, you understand. Yeah, you understand more than I do.
I understand that people will say, you can't be in a nice car in North Omaha, right? I get it.
Yeah.
But
or if you are, you must be doing something wrong.
So why did he follow me to drop my vehicle off? Like, that was he didn't have to let me do that.
No, because probably by that, if I had to guess, by that point, he had already knew he messed up. But he was seeing it through, following it through, and ending the thing in a way that didn't. He was trying to save face. Is would be my guess.
And the interesting thing about that is when he said, "Leave my vehicle, don't drive it," he was on the next exit ramp where I had to go home. So he was still checking. It's not. I don't think he thought like I was in the clear. I think he was like, "Is this dude gonna really try to drive his truck after I leave?"
Yeah, no, none of that sits right with me. We'll be back.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
The Brazilians has now moved up to take the lead. And Preakness is given way from the 5 or 16 pole. And Mystic Dan is now come through on the inside. It is Mystic Dan down toward the inside with the lead in the final 16. Forever Young, Sierra Leone is coming. These three coming up the wire. Who's it going to be? Oh, it's the photo of the Derby. Oh, it's the photo. Was it Mystic Dan or was it Sierra Leone?
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Hour number 1. Talked about a lot already. Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Anthony Stabile, Big A. We're going to talk a little Preakness. What's going on, Big A?
What's going on, Rev? How are you?
We're just trying to figure out what happened with Scotty Scheffler this morning. That's all.
You're in my doghouse too, Big A. You were clowning me on social media, man.
Sir, I'm not talking to you. I'm here to talk to Rav this morning. I am not here to talk to you, sir.
I was so hungry, though.
You ever hear in horse racing, you've been hearing a lot about these suspensions, right? Mm-hmm. The new thing now is metformin. They're calling the metformin, which is a diabetes drug. They're calling it exercise in a pill. Well, if metformin was exercise in a pill, I would be Michael Phelps because I take 3 a day. Okay? I would be I'm already the most handsome, but I would be in the best shape in the world. So, but They've been giving out a lot of suspensions. You came so dangerously close to a suspension for wiping your marinara sauce off of meatballs. My mother's sitting across from me eating breakfast. She just cringed. She almost hit the ground just now. You people out of your minds? What is going on there?
Whoa,
do I gotta get in my car and come out there?
Don't you people me. I'm not wiping anything down.
He's the one that made fun. It's fine. I'm going to take the L and move on, but
yeah, do that.
I was so I had to have it, and I didn't want the sauce, man. I did what I had to do.
And my ears are bleeding. Please just stop this conversation.
I can't believe you were like going to suspend me, man. We're going on like close. 10 years.
It's a little bit more, Damon, and that's how important. I mean, look, as of this morning's weigh-in, I'm 375 pounds. You know how important 99 sauce is to me.
All right.
Come on, man.
Fine. I'll do better. I'll be better.
It's the one and only Big A we're talking about. At some point, we're going to talk about horse racing.
The best.
That's okay, though. Okay, so I do have a question here. Your metformin comment got me thinking a little bit here. So I know they call it exercise in a pill. What exactly do they think that does for the horse in this situation?
So I never try to beat around the bush. I didn't do enough research into this. I just saw the exercise in a pill comment.
Okay.
And a horseman who I really, really respect. We were talking about. I was over at Aqueduct yesterday. So I'm calling the races at Finger Lakes now, which is in upstate New York, right outside of Rochester. And then I still, as a fan, go to Aqueduct and stuff and trying to buy and sell some horses down here. So I was poking around about it yesterday because there's been an influx of these.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been 7 positives for the metformin.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're tracing the drug tests in horses are literally for nanograms. So and I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a groom, I think I read something yesterday where 35 million Americans are on metformin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about 10% of the population here in the United States. If one of your grooms, so that's 1 in 10 people, right? If one of your grooms takes metformin and goes to feed a horse, goes to rub beagle oil into a horse, goes to whatever, hose a horse down, and it gets on their mouth. Now, this is going to take a little bit more than that, but it's not impossible for there to be contamination.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem I have with it is, if horse A tests positive in a guy's barn, right? So George Weaver's the newest. They're looking to give George Weaver, who's been pretty clean for his entire career, they're looking to give him 2 years.
Mm.
If George Weaver, horse A, tests positive for metformin, can you go and test 45 or 50 other horses in the barn? And if nobody else comes up positive for metformin, maybe then we can understand that it was a human error.
Yeah.
That's not being done. That one horse is popping. They're getting the guy. The groom, by the way, was able to show records that he's been taking the drug for 12 years.
Mm. Mm.
So, and look, could the groom be a scapegoat? Absolutely. Right? Frank Miramati, my opinion, the number 1 track announcer in the country right now, says the answer is money. Now, what's the question? So everybody, they're going to find a way to massage it and get around it, and they'll find escape. Oh, Tony got his guy to go down for 50 large. Right?
Hey, I'm a Dodgers guy over here.
Yeah, I'm sure. Of course you are. I'm a Mets fan. So, you know what I mean? Like, the answer is money. Now, what's the question? Somebody, if somebody can take the fall for it, yeah, I'm sure they would. But I just think that we're getting, there's bigger problems in the sport. I do not believe a metformin pill is at the top of that list.
And a relatively, this isn't a crowded race, right? I think. What do you have? 8 posts? 9?
Down to 8, yeah. So the morning line favorite, Moose from Bob Baffert. Speaking of controversial, from the Bob Baffert barn, he was forced to scratch for the second time shipping cross country. He shipped to a race in Saratoga last year and scratched for. It's called shipping fever. When a horse comes in from another jurisdiction. And in Moot's case, he took not only a van, but he took a plane from California. So plane, van, you get shipping fever. It's the second time it's happened to him. But then of course, the people with agendas or people looking to, sometimes a cup of tea is not a cup of tea. They need to go and look into things. And of course, one of the more popular doping drugs in horse racing is EPO, and shipping and spiking a fever is a big sign of EPO. So all the conspiracy theorists, everybody has their knives out, and
that is crazy.
So let me be clear: you're not giving Bob Baffert the benefit of the doubt, is that?
I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire, right? I mean, the guy can't run in the Kentucky Derby. I don't know. He wipes sauce off his meatballs. I mean, I can't trust that guy either.
Hey, so the more wide open the race is without a lot of spots, you're only 2 weeks removed from, horses that can run in crowds versus horses that can't. Does this skew the odds in your opinion? It's pretty wide open.
I mean, Muth went from being what I thought was going to be a pretty overwhelming favorite to now Mystic Dan will take that role, the Kentucky Derby winner. And the more I look at his race, the more I have to think. I was talking to my mom, taught me how to handicap, so I will reference her a lot when I'm talking horses, and she still follows along. There had to be a little more. They had a lot of rain in Kentucky before the Derby, and I would almost imagine that, despite the track being labeled fast, there might have been a little bit of moisture still in that racetrack. And I think because the Derby and his Southwest stick out on his card like sore thumbs. They're just much better races than he's ever run anytime else. So I don't know. He got a great trip in a race that's always full of tough trips because of that crowd that you mentioned, Damon.
Yeah.
He got a dream run. He had a little trouble on the turn, but Ryan Hernandez Jr., his rider, has made his living by saving ground and just marrying himself to the rail. So that's the kind of trip this guy gives all his horses, and it worked, right? If he doesn't get through and he almost gets put over the fence going into the final turn, he's the scapegoat. Well, now he's the hero at that ride because he had two horses hit their noses on the line with his in a thrilling final furlong of the Derby. Then he's the scapegoat, and he's a well-beaten third or probably even fourth if he doesn't. He could have been off the board if he doesn't get through. And Muth coming out changes the complexion of the race because he was going to be the early leader. A lot of people feel like he was going to be the one to set the early fractions. And now I think it brings a couple of other horses in. Just Steele, who ran in the Derby, he chased the pace early on in the Derby and then got tired. He gets a rider change to Joel Rosario.
At 15 to 1, is that appealing?
I'm not a fan of his. He can win. I would find it very difficult to get the one Mugatu or the 6 Seize the Gray to the winner's circle. Seize the Gray won a race on the Kentucky Derby undercard, but I don't think he wants to go this far. I don't think he wants to run a mile on 3/16. I think his the mile and around one turn as opposed to going around 2 turns is probably going to be more beneficial to his career. So save those two. I don't have to make an official pick anywhere, I guess, other than here, which is good because maybe we can make some money for the Nebraskans.
Yeah.
Uncle Heavy. Ooh, no pun intended.
20 to 1, huh?
Uncle Heavy, he won't be 20 to 1. I wish he would be 20 to 1. I'd lock in 20 to 1 right now. He won a race at Aqueduct, my home track, called the Withers. And after the day of the Withers, there was an equine herpes, insert joke here, positive. And it's not really a funny thing, but there was an equine herpes positive. And when that happens, barn areas get shut down. So he won the race at like 2 o'clock. They announced this herpes outbreak. He couldn't go back to his Pennsylvania place called Parks. He wasn't allowed to ship back in because equine herpes is very contagious. So he had to go to a farm at the trainer's best friend. He went to his farm for 3 weeks. He missed some training. He wasn't able to run in the next prep race. And then he ran in the ultimate prep race here for the Derby. It's called the Wood Memorial. And he had this awful wide draw. And at Aqueduct, when you go 9 furlongs, which is a mile and an eighth, the start of the race is almost on the first turn. So you get slapped with that first turn in the face from the 12 post. He gets a huge rider upgrade to the best jockey in the country, a Rabbit Cheese Jr. He's going from a kid in Philly, from a not a good rider in Philly to the best rider in the country.
Mm.
So he's going to be 12-1. I don't trust Mr. McMahon as far as you guys can throw me. So I'm going to take a little shot with Uncle Heavy. The horse I picked in the Derby, Catching Freedom's back. They said he was training so well, so he ran him back. I don't know if I want this horse off short rest, but I'll throw him in because I just don't want the horse to beat me that I bet in the Derby to beat me.
Mm.
I'll probably use Uncle Heavy with the number 2 is Uncle Heavy with the 3 Catching Freedom, the 9 Imagination. That's the other Bob Baffert horse, and the 5 Mystic Man.
Mm. There you go.
Let's get paid.
That's Anthony Stabile, Big A. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll talk in a few weeks for the Belmont guys. Good luck, everyone.
You got it.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and reminding you to go to either supernovas.com or provolleyball.com and get your tickets for the championship match tomorrow at 3:30, CHI Health Center. Your Omaha Supernovas are playing for the first ever Pro Volleyball Federation championship. If you were at the semifinals on Wednesday, you know that it was an electric atmosphere with Omaha coming back from a 2-0 deficit, getting that reverse sweep in resounding fashion. And
it's a lot of R's.
Reverse sweep, resound. I don't know. My name starts with an R. I like the R's. But hopefully the Supernovas can get a W on Saturday, and you can be there to witness it as well. Supernovas.com or provolleyball.com for your tickets to the championship. How you doing?
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still.
So
I'm just.
That's obviously a screenshot of a website, right? The photo of the
that looks like a. I mean, not that I would know, but like that's the picture from the booking.
Yeah, from like the web, like from the police webpage where you can look it up.
Public, yeah.
Okay, because the first mugshot that came out was not that; it was a clear shot, and I go, "Ooh, who leaked that from the office?"
Yeah,
because that
which would be wrong.
Yeah,
but it's public record.
That one is the first one I saw was a lot clearer than a screenshot of a website.
It's all over now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, second-degree assault, third-degree criminal mischief, reckless. So again,
there's one of two things that it's happening here. Either Scheffler really bleeped up, right? Like which again, we've talked about the situations where that could have happened, but to get a second-degree assault of an officer.
So can I just say,
yeah,
so I know in the beginning it sounded like I was going to be on the police officer side.
I think you were just trying to give the perspective because I think you could tell I was going to be on the other side.
Yeah, the reason that the lean on why I felt like he probably did something he shouldn't have done. And don't get me, I mean, hear my heart. I'm not saying police officers aren't capable of being irrational. But if he was following in a vehicle, okay, which was the supposition, the vehicle ahead of him got in.
Yep.
Why did he have such an issue with Scheffler's vehicle? There's something we were clearly missing.
Yeah, there's missing information here.
Right? So I'm like, okay, did they both get on the median? Did they both avert traffic? Was he told not? I can't imagine if traffic is averted, they said get on the median.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right? So that never read right to me.
Yeah.
Now, why he jumped on the vehicle, I have no idea. But apparently, because, and I joked, I think I said this off air. I said, well, why would he jump on the vehicle? Like, why would he lose his cool? Did Scotty like lob him the bird on the way by or what?
Yeah, and that's I get it. I do. That's why
it just didn't make sense.
No, there's something here that clearly doesn't make sense because,
and I'm not absolving the police officer, but I kind of even heard it with Michael. He's like, well, I mean, their job is to de-escalate. Maybe he did, and somebody was just defiant.
Right. That's why I say either Scheffler really effed up, or the police officer really effed up. Like,
I mean, it's not like they said, "Hey, you're free to go. Sorry for the misunderstanding."
Yeah.
They know they're going to have to deal with the repercussions and backlash of, is this really a thing?
So my thought is either Scheffler didn't do something as bad as it seems, and it got escalated because there was an ego involved, which wouldn't be the first time, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, do you go through with the charges?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Okay.
Because
now's the time where you should go to your old reliable. Well, he's the number one ranked golfer in the world.
Yeah. That's what you should be like, maybe we chill out. But maybe it got to the point where it's like they already detained him. So do they need to make it seem like he did something bad enough?
I don't know, man.
No, but listen to the question, right? So it is reported immediately. Jeff Darlington has video of him being arrested. So at that point, when you are arresting a very famous person at the place where he works, and you're like, okay, there's video of this out there. At what point are you like, either we have to just eat a bunch of crow and be like, hey, yeah, he shouldn't have been detained. That's our bad. Or Do you try and make it seem like Scheffler's in the wrong so that your arrest or detaining of him was justified?
But he's very famous to us because we know who he is.
I mean, if you're working security there, you know what's going on.
You know what's going on, but you don't necessarily know who the people are. You're not gonna. I mean, you're not gonna know
you
who.
Do by the time that you arrest him.
You're not gonna know who all 80 of the golfers are.
I'm with Shane because here's the thing. Two things don't support your theory. Number one, whatever the interaction was, get out of the car, get out of the vehicle. Where all the eyewitness reports that he reached in the vehicle, so there's clearly a problem there, right? The other thing is, again, if the police officer was working the traffic incident, and he's thinking fatality.
Sure.
He's not worried about, and it's not his job to worry about what's going on in the golf world. His job is to keep the folks safe while they're investigating an area where somebody has died.
Yes.
Right?
I understand that.
And we've seen videos, right? We've seen videos of police officers being hit, trying to direct traffic on the side of the road. Like, there's a reason why there's the move over law now. And I don't know what's going on in Kentucky.
Yeah.
But I think part of the problem is two things can be true at once. You can assume that law enforcement should have the capacity to rise above situations and still understand that given the context of what's going on, replicating, making good decisions within split seconds. I just think there's not room for error because it could cost a life, but there's some grace in that. I think we have to consider what was going on around and not who the perpetrator was. But we keep going back to who the perpetrator was because I get it. Number one golfer in the world. He's a heck of an athlete. It is on ESPN. That tie is there. But it doesn't sound anything like an overzealous cop outside of trying to stop a vehicle. But we don't even know if he jumped on the vehicle. We're saying that.
Let me add some context here that's been reported. This is from Connie Leonard, who is a journalist in Louisville, and Michael Collins on ESPN.
Yeah, because they let Michael Collins in.
So Michael Collins
right ahead.
Michael Collins said on ESPN, other golfers made the same traffic move around the accident that Scotty Scheffler did without any problems.
Yeah. Again.
So that would indicate that they were going up on the median. He said they made the same traffic move. Michael Collins is a witness. That would indicate to me that there is, I don't know if that lends itself to overzealous cop. I don't know if that lends itself to Scheffler.
So you think if you're going to slap him with the reckless driving, are we?
You got to go back and ticket everybody?
Or are you going on what Michael Collins said, that everybody made the exact same move?
I mean, he was there. I wasn't. I'm leaning on that.
As was the police officer.
He was. But, you said we see videos of people being dangerous around cops. We've also seen videos of police officers doing out-of-pocket stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's not out of the question. And listen, maybe Scheffler did throw him the bird on the way by, or
I'm just
made a snarky comment.
I'm just saying the fact that more people did, if in fact more people did the exact same
traffic
thing,
move, yeah,
and he singled out Scheffler, that would lead me to believe that
Scheffler did something.
Something happened in the meantime.
So let's put this on Scheffler for a second. Let's say Scheffler's frustrated. What's up, Shane?
I was going to say, you don't necessarily know if that officer or if any officers were there at the time when the other golfers were going over the medium. You don't necessarily know that.
I mean, I have to assume they were, because the accident.
Well, I mean, a lot of this is assumption. It's for the sake of the conversation.
It is.
I get it.
But so let's put this on Scheffler for a second, okay? Let's say that everybody else was going through. Scheffler's frustrated and says something snarky on the way by the officer or something, and that's what escalates this. Does that justify what happens after that from the police officer standpoint?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No.
It doesn't justify it?
Well,
or it doesn't make sense?
It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Does it to you?
Yeah. I've seen firsthand and secondhand. So either stuff that's happened to me or happened to people that I was with or watching or whatever, where an offhand comment about somebody who's frustrated with the situation they're in is suddenly a police officer, a law enforcement officer goes from 0 to 60 in the way they react to a situation because all of a sudden they don't like the way somebody talked to them. That's not a good reason. And I'm not saying that's what happened here, but it's possible because clearly something happened with Scheffler that didn't happen with anybody else, right?
Yeah.
That's about the only thing we know. Something happened with Scheffler that didn't happen with anybody else. I have a hard time believing, maybe I'm wrong, but if we're hearing from witnesses that everybody else was making the same traffic move, I have a hard time believing that whatever Scheffler did, unless he's flying through there at like 45 miles an hour, it's like it's the same traffic move, but he's doing it at a high rate of speed. I have a hard time believing he was doing anything that was putting the officer in any more danger than anyone else was.
Well, he did get the reckless driving.
Yeah, I get that. He's also the only one that was stopped.
Yeah, but what if he was stopped because of the speed in which...
Entirely possible.
Because again, this is speculation, but let's say Collins and his guys,
mm-hmm.
I mean, because that was reported early. Hey, they got in right ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Scheffler had the early tee time.
Yeah.
Collins is quote unquote just working.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a little heightened panic for
Scheffler.
For Scheffler.
Sure, yeah. I get it. I've been in here where I'm a couple minutes later than I want to be, and I'm moving a little quicker than I normally do.
Right.
I get that for sure.
So maybe that's where the reckless driving came in.
Or maybe it's something they hit.
And listen, I've had two of the I've had two very non-pleasant experiences with law enforcement in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had several more where it's like, hey, I mean, I got yelled at for crossing the street at the CWS, right? Just to hand off some tickets. Right.
Yeah.
I got pulled over leaving first time at 9:00 at night where a guy drops a Blackberries reference on me. Right. Like, like that stuff's not. So I get it. I get what you're saying, but I've got 50 positive stories too. I mean, half my guy, like what I'm saying with this is if you're gonna go to the everybody else was doing it, why me? Then somebody's got to tell me why what happened to the why.
There's a variable that we don't understand.
Yeah.
Now my question is, and what the point that I was getting at was, a lot of times that variable that turns into a situation like this is not a good enough reason.
Oh, but that is such an assumption. Why can't you err on the side of, like, why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't we just say something occurred? Why do we minimize it or maximize it? Like, what if he was simply just going faster, or he drove in such a way that the other cars weren't driving?
Sure.
Why does it have to be?
Because
it has to be. Doesn't sound like a very good. Like,
I'm not saying it has to be. I'm not saying it has to be. I'm trying to give, because we've given those examples. I said, okay, the reckless driving, maybe he was doing that same maneuver, but way too fast. Maybe he was doing something these other people weren't doing. But I also want to give the other side of that maybe he didn't do anything that
he
justified
did something so petty that it escalated to this. Okay.
Like, I think we have, if we're going to say this could be on Scheffler, we have to say it also could be on the police officer. Right?
Or what I like to do is we take the names out of it and we look at what actually happened.
Sure. That's fine.
That's what I like to do, because you're not always going to get the benefit of the doubt, and that's not how you want the law applied.
No, I don't.
Like, you don't want the law applied differently to Scotty Scheffler than you do Shane Schillerberg in the same situation.
For sure.
Now, that's not to sit here and say, it doesn't happen like that. But I hear it. I hear it in the delivery. Like, we're making distinctions based on who people are, whether it's a track record of law enforcement or the fact that somebody was the number one golfer in the world. I hear it.
Is less about Scheffler's individual status and the situation that, like, this wasn't a normal traffic stop. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't a situation, like, This wasn't a situation where he's on the interstate or whatever, right? Like, this is a very specific circumstance where, first of all, and the attaching yourself to the car or whatever sounds like he jumped on a car. Again, we don't totally know what happened there, but Scheffler's going into the club. Why was that necessary? Like, he's going
again,
like if you feel the need to go arrest Scotty Scheffler, why do you have to jump in his car?
Because it said the car traveled 10 to 20 more yards.
Okay, how far does 10 yards feel in a car?
Feels like 30 feet.
That's not very, like, in a car, 30 feet feels like nothing.
Okay. Well,
like, if you're on the car, yes, that feels like a very long time to be.
Hey, you know what you should try?
What's that?
Okay, so next time you are attempting to be detained, somebody's going to attempt to detain you, just pump fake like you're going to run away. And don't go anywhere. Move 1 foot and see how far that really is. Just pump fake.
No, but he's
no.
in the car.
It's relative to what the officer is trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Right? What seems like that might be one of the more ridiculous things I've heard. If he told him to stop 10 feet earlier or to do something 10 feet earlier, and he travels another 10 yards from that spot or 20 yards, that's far. Because how fast could you be going? How fast could you be going? If you're going to be on a median, how fast could you be going, Ravi?
Not that fast.
Okay. So that would, to get to that distance, may have taken some more time than we think. It's not like you're going through the neighborhood at 25 miles an hour and you only have to go, 30 feet. Because if you're going 25 miles an hour, that seems pretty slow. Right? You ever driven 25 in a neighborhood with school?
Most of the time.
Yeah, you feel like you could run that fast.
Yeah, but you super cannot. Well, I can at least. I mean, 30. I'm just saying 30 feet goes. If you're going 10, 15 miles an hour, 30 feet goes by pretty fast.
Second-degree assault of an officer involves intentionally causing serious injury to a police officer and or another person of authority. Second degree? You think for just like, man, he was just doing what everybody else was doing.
No, obviously there is something that happened here that got off the skids somewhere.
Okay, don't try the pump fake thing. No,
I'm not going to do that.
It was just this context.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not trying
take 3 steps.
I'm not going to
try to get away.
Not trying to end up a headline.
Right?
Like that's I'm not trying to do that.
Or tased or whatever.
What I'm saying though is, like, in a car, and I don't know the context, because on the one hand we think he was maybe going too fast in the situation he was in.
And maybe reckless is just the path that he took.
That's what I mean. Like, maybe they're like, oh, he's on the medium, so now it's reckless.
But according to Michael Collins, everybody was on the medium.
That's what I'm saying here. There is something that happened here, that there is a variable either on Scotty Scheffler's part or the law enforcement officer's part that we don't understand yet, that we don't have the information to yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is, I mean, that's the entire story, is what is that variable? And maybe there's multiple. But obviously, at least some people were going through without issue. According to, all I have to go on is the reports, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know you seem skeptical.
Because I can just hear in your voice, one guy reports one thing, and it's like, oh, that's probably the way it happened. But I've got two. I've
got Michael Collins and the Louisville Reporter.
And police could be reporting it another, and it's like, I'm a little skeptical.
Well, I haven't heard anything from police that other people weren't doing.
Well, they don't speak on.
I understand that, so I have nothing else to go on but the reports.
Okay. It's just met with
it's
just met with skepticism.
I assume that at some point the police will have a press conference about this issue.
No, I get what Michael's like. I understand what he's saying. He's like, yeah, the second degree. I get it. It has to be labeled something, but with either
but
cams,
the intentional is not great. Of the second degree, the intentional
with
bad.
Cams and eyewitnesses, like, I get it. I can pit what actually happened versus what the charge is. Like, I've been there. Like, I like, well aware of what they are, and they may not hold, but to go through with multiple charges the way that we're like a guy was just trying to get to the golf course seems strange even if other people were also trying to do the same thing too.
It just doesn't.
It's
so I think it's totally reasonable to say maybe Scotty Scheffler did something he really was not supposed to be doing. Fair?
Yeah. That's
Is
fair.
it also, I mean, have you also seen a situation?
I have, but I don't have to entertain both.
But if we don't know what the variable, how do you not entertain both?
Because
that's my question.
Listen, hear my heart. This isn't about being right. It's about getting it right. So I can entertain lots of things from reading a report. I don't have to take a stance, right? It's possible to have a very intellectual conversation without having to take a stance because I'm simply not there. It's not like I get to watch something and then express an opinion. So I'm not interested in like being right about whose fault it was. So when I talk, I look for solutions. I don't want to prove my point because I really don't have one except for it could have been this. It could have been this. This is interesting. Something doesn't mean right. I'm not interested in painting anybody in any sort of light when I have this conversation. So I bristle up when I hear it because I can hear it. I'm not trying to paint anyone in any light. I'm trying to give multiple vantage points of what I think people may have been thinking real time. Like you're not ever going to hear me say, "Oh man, 10 yards. That wasn't very far, man. That seems kind of." See those are leading statements. Like I want my theory to be right when I'm talking to everybody else.
No, I bring it up
and we're it's just a different way to have the conversation.
I brought up the 10 yards thing because you kept going back to it. In a car, 10 yards doesn't seem like very far to me. Maybe I'm wrong. That's fine. But in a car, 10 yards doesn't seem like a long way to me.
Yeah.
Like that's just in my, I mean, and honestly, total full disclosure, it's from looking at my GPS and 100 feet comes up on me before I even know it.
Yeah.
Like that's my context for this is that happens fast. And I'm not trying to choose one side or the other. I don't know how many times I've said like, hey, this could be a situation where Scheffler definitely bleeped up. Like but if that's the case, I also have to consider that the opposite is true. Like one of those two things to me has to be true. Either Scheffler really bleeped up, the officer really bleeped up, and maybe they're both true in a certain, like maybe in like it's a little bit of both, right? I don't know.
When I was a kid, I used to play that card all the time, but everybody else is doing it. Hey, why can't I have that He-Man figure? Everybody else has that He-Man figure. Why can't I go to that party? Everybody else is going to that party, and it never worked out.
Full disclosure, that it drives me crazy. I use it in analogies all the time, and that excuse drives me crazy. And my go-to line is at some point, the more mature person has to go first.
Lance, hold on just a second here. We've got some time in the next segment. We will get to you and your call, 888-638-4876. If you've got some thoughts, we will get to Michigan Lance. We'll get to more here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. We will be back.
Probably got a few more answers than what Usyk has, actually, so it's going to be a cracking fight. Mind games here, Carl.
Yeah, Tyson doesn't want to look at him. I think it looked
him up on the inside. He's probably got a few more.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are live on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we are brought to you by the Team Jack Foundation. Go to teamjackfoundation.org to get involved with this great cause. They have a very simple goal, and that is to find better treatments for childhood brain cancer and one day a cure. You can get involved directly on the website by donating or finding the events that they're involved in. If you want more information, you can see all the projects that they're helping fund as well, with the over $12 million to date that they have raised through their events and efforts. That's teamjackfoundation.org. All right, let's get to the phone line here. Michigan Lance held on through the break for us. We appreciate Lance doing that. What's going on, Lance?
Good morning, fellas. Okay, so who am I supposed to be mad at? The police or Scotty?
Whoever you want to be mad at, Lance.
I don't think you have to be mad at it either, but apparently that's not the cool thing to do.
What's that? Be mad at him?
Yeah, like I think I don't know. I was just reading a couple of comments on social media. Apparently, like I've got to pick a side. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm really asking because I just heard you talking about it, and I had to go look this stuff up, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, man, what? Like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, okay, so listen, I'll tell you right now, put me in that police lineup, or let me look in the window, see if I know who Scotty Scheffler, not Schefter. This is Scheffler, whatever his name is. I have no clue who that guy is or what he looks like.
Yeah.
All right. So was the cop supposed to know and then not do it? Or is that what the outrage is about, DB? Or
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
I'm not saying he should act differently towards the number one golfer in the world. What I'm saying is, you're working security at the PGA Championship. Like, you probably understand the context of what the golfer's trying to accomplish.
I just wish I knew if he was working traffic, if he was
there because of the accident, if he was a security officer,
or he was working security for the entrance.
Which is a totally fair distinction.
That's what I want to know. But that's not good enough for some.
We haven't gotten that. I don't think we've gotten that information yet, and that's fine. But that's my point. It's not about, hey, you should treat Scotty Scheffler different because he's Scotty Scheffler, and you should recognize him. But like Scotty Scheffler could walk by me tomorrow, I may not recognize him. But if I'm working security at the PGA Championship, I'd probably understand there's a different context than I'm, running a traffic beat or something. That's all I'm saying in this situation.
And why was my man
I followed
he latched onto his car?
Yeah, that's a little unclear on how what actually happened. I don't know if he went like all TJ Hooker, but
yeah,
right.
I don't really know there. Yeah,
and we're making I don't know what happened. Like, did he try to stop the car? So what if it was like this? And Tony's not gonna like this on social media, but. What if he stood in front of the car and the car kept going?
And up on the hood?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. Is that plausible?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm on the police officer's side.
It's plausible.
I'm not
I get what you're saying.
The way that it was described.
A guy that's had plenty of shaky experiences with law enforcement, that's seen a lot over the I'm not picking a side.
My only argument against that being the case would be the way that it was described, but we're relying a lot on Jeff Darlington at that point to have accurately described it.
Well, Darlington saw the aftermath of once they arrived at Valhalla,
right.
Not what led up to that.
But his initial tweet,
Collins was the one that said.
But Darlington was the initial tweet that I saw that said the officer attached himself to the car, which to me doesn't sound. But again, we're relying on that report.
What is that?
What I read earlier was that was an eyewitness account that Darlington was retelling.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Ravi, what's your thing about it again? What's your issue with this?
My issue is just that I think there's one of two things that happened here, and maybe it's a combination of both of those things. Either Scotty Scheffler legitimately did something he really shouldn't have been doing and was hopping a curb and going too fast and maybe almost hit a police officer or whatever. I'm not being dismissive. That's like, is that not what I'm not being dismissive of what, like, if this is on Scotty Scheffler, that's probably what it looked like, right?
Well, he's regular old Dukes of Hazzard.
So, Ravi, you don't think
or that Scotty Scheffler was trying to accomplish what he thought everybody else was, whether he was correct in that or not, and the police officer got a little out of pocket or over aggressive. Like that's, and it's probably somewhere in the middle where Scheffler was maybe doing something he shouldn't have done, and maybe it got escalated with the police officer in a way that it shouldn't have. I don't know.
Right. Could you entertain that somebody was clearly in the wrong, whether it was the police officer or Scheffler?
Yeah, that's where I started.
Okay.
Was either one of those two or a combination of both. Either one of those guys was clearly in the wrong, or both of them kind of messed up a little bit and we ended up in a bad spot.
And why? Okay, that's where you're at. So you don't have, you haven't picked a side, Ravi, or you have picked a side?
No, I mean, I think there's certain things that are more likely than others, but I don't have, I don't have enough information to say that other than what we've seen in history. Like, I don't know enough about this specific situation to have a good take. I'm just going by trends and other things that I've seen that I probably think one's more likely than the other, but I don't know.
I got you. So you think probably more so of the police officers might have been in the wrong? Is that what you're? Or
I mean, based on the reports that are coming out that other people are getting let through or whatever, my tendency is to think that maybe the police officer overreacted to something that Scotty Scheffler did. But as Damon said, there's Scotty Scheffler likely did something different than the other drivers to precipitate that thing. So that's where I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, though, but he got released pretty quickly, though, right?
But he got booked. I mean, there's charges, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah. I mean, and he got let go. Hey, he survived. He lived.
They did him. They did him a solid. They slapped some charges on him and got him out of there quick. So it's the best of both worlds.
I'm guessing
you got preferential. You got preferential treatment and you got held accountable. Okay.
Right.
I'm pretty sure his ability.
Well, that's what you're saying. It's like, well, at least they let him out quick.
I'm pretty sure his ability.
Because I'm like, if Ravi has an issue like more so with the police, it's like, well, if the police is wrong, I mean, hey, they let him go quick. Like he didn't He didn't have to be in a holding tank for the weekend. Like,
no, but he still got charged. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're still charged. Like, he's still gonna have to deal with this.
That is weird.
Yeah, I mean,
that is weird.
And
How
he
he
probably
multiple charges and it was expedited still.
Yeah, like to have that many charges and not be
yeah.
there all day or over the weekend, or have a judge get involved. Like, that's a weird situation.
I'm just saying.
But it's also could we also be in a situation where the guy on scene was acting out of pocket, and the people back at the precinct were like, we got to get this guy back to the golf course? Like, that's possible, right?
Hey, man, at the end of the day, Scotty Scheffler, whatever his name is.
It's not Adam, it's Scotty Scheffler.
Okay, yeah. Pippin, whoever. My man walked
Jordan.
away.
Scotty Barnes?
He walked away, and he's still able to do his job.
Yeah, you think he messed around and shoot 59 today, and I'll laugh.
I mean, so the overreaction of whether but I mean, that stuff happens. It happens, man. It happens to and it happens more often to one side than another, or a group of people than others. So look at the penitentiary system. Look who's in there. So I mean, he'll be okay. So anyway, Ant-Man, right? Hey, man, this dude, and Damon probably. How do you feel about Ant-Man, DB?
I like Ant. I like Ant a lot.
Hey, how about my man? How he improved his game?
Yeah.
Like,
so Ravi and I were telling a story because Ravi's a Golden State guy. When he came to work, when Golden State worked him out, to see if they were going to select him, they told him that his workouts weren't up tempo enough. Like, he wasn't working hard enough.
Okay.
And he said when he left the workout, he's like, "What? I've been doing X, Y, and Z for, however many months, and this hasn't been good enough." Like, he said it changed the trajectory of his career. Like, he's officially a gym rat. That's
man.
You
can see it.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
Because you know how everybody talks about, today's game and these guys, and I'm not a 90s guy, and I grew up in the 90s. I'm not revisionist history on the 90s. There was some bad basketball going on. A lot of individual ISO bad basketball. And so, as far as team-wise. Mm-hmm. And so, when you talk about these players nowadays and how they're bigger, faster, stronger, and more athletic, but they're not, and everybody talk about the skill part, though. They're so inconsistent. So when Damon says to me, like, Juju, I almost said, Juju over at a USC, right?
Yeah.
And
Juju
you talk about how she takes a lot of bad shots. Well, that's the majority of people nowadays. Like, that has become the majority.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Man, there's a handful of people that are skilled taking efficient shots. That's why everybody's so inconsistent on points scored and averages and things like that. Like, it's a lot of inconsistency.
Yeah, Lance, literally every metric in the world would disagree with you.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Kevin Iole of KevinIole.com. He is a combat sports reporter. Kevin, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Aficionado, that's what I like to refer to you as, KI. Just a combat aficionado.
I was just reading the bio, man. You know.
a lot has been good. Do you feel like you're kind of drinking through a fire hose with what's happening with, I mean, Dana's putting on matches every 2 weeks. We've got boxing finally starting to hit its stride. We're on a nice little run here in the combative sports world.
Well, you were saying Dana puts on shows every 2 weeks. Try every week.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think he does. I think they have like 40-some shows a year. And when you add in, PFL, Bellator doing their MMA shows, and then there's always a promoter that has a boxing show. Yeah, I'm a little busy this time of year.
So, Kevin, we've got obviously not an MMA match, but a really good boxing matchup between our guys Fury and Usyk. I always want to put an S in there or an H in there for some reason. So I'm really struggling with the names this week, Kevin. But kind of give us some context here because, we've struggled to find really good heavyweight fights for a while now. What kind of context can you give for us in terms of how big or important this fight is?
Well, I think back, you're talking 25 years since we last had an undisputed champion. So tomorrow we will have an undisputed heavyweight champion for the first time in 25 years when Lennox Lewis beat Evander Holyfield in a rematch. It's going to be split up. There's already plans for the IBF title to be taken away from the winner and given to somebody else, right? But at least we're going to know this is the guy in the heavyweight division. Alexander Usyk is a really interesting character. Not as well known as Tyson Fury, but Usyk is a 2012 Olympic gold medalist at heavyweight.
Yeah.
He won the heavyweight gold medal. In amateur boxing, a lot of people don't understand, there was a super heavyweight division. And Anthony Joshua won the gold medal in London at the super heavyweight division the same year Usyk won the heavyweight gold medal. Usyk then turns around and starts as a pro at cruiserweight, which has a limit of 200 pounds, and he becomes the undisputed cruiserweight champion, and now is trying to follow in the steps of Evander Holyfield, who became the cruiserweight champion, an undisputed cruiserweight champion, and then an undisputed heavyweight champion. So that's Usyk is a great boxer and really a smart guy. And again, he's going up against Tyson Fury, who also is a great boxer. And oh, by the way, has the added benefit of being 6'9", 270 pounds.
Yeah, Kevin, it's interesting because stylistically, everybody always says this about Fury. Oh, it's hard to punch down and this, that, and the other. And they always talk about his leverage and how he kind of defies traditional boxing styles. What is it about Usyk when you watch how he likes to fight stylistically that you think can pose some problems for Fury?
Yeah, I picked Usyk to win the fight, and I think it's a coin toss of a fight. But I think Usyk's pace is really something that's going to cause problems for Tyson Fury because he fights. I talked to one of the guys in his camp the other day, and he said Usyk thinks he's a middleweight, and he fights at a middleweight pace as a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And he looks small next to Tyson Fury because he's 6 inches shorter, and the weigh-ins are going to be happening here any moment now, and he is going to be 50 pounds, maybe less than Fury. So he looks small, but he's actually bigger than Muhammad Ali. He's 6'3.5", and he weighs about 225.
He's bigger than Tyson.
And Tyson's 6'9", 270. So that's the problem.
Mike, I meant Mike Tyson.
Oh, Mike Tyson. Yeah, much bigger than Mike Tyson. Yeah, Mike Tyson 5'11", so Usyk is 6'3". So Usyk fights at that pace where Fury is really going to have to go. And he's a guy, when he's in condition, can fight hard. He wants to find spots where he can take a break and not be moving. And Usyk's not that kind of guy. Usyk's going to force him to fight. And as a result, I think that Usyk can win some rounds in the fight by just kind of wearing Fury down.
I'm trying to just envision in my head, watching both these guys fight so much, how Fury's going to keep Usyk out of his chest, right? He has those long arms. I just could see Alexander being inside of that almost all night.
Well, if he's inside, then he's going to win the fight, right?
Yeah.
That is the key to the whole fight. I think, what Usyk has to do is get what the fight people call the middle distance. He cannot stay all the way outside, but I don't also think he can get all the way inside. I don't think he wants to be like a buzzsaw right on, like Tyson would want to be right on top of him, right, chest to chest. Usyk wants to be in that middle range, so he's going to have to slip the jab. Now, what is Tyson Fury's best asset? He has an unbelievable jab that's like a powerful right hand from some people. Yeah. And he has an 85-inch reach, and he's popping that jab at you. It's really hard to get past that jab. So if you're watching the fight and you see Usyk is kind of managing to get by the jab and then be in that middle distance, the fight is going his way.
Kevin, you mentioned this is a coin flip fight in your mind. Vegas would tend to agree. I think last I saw, Tyson was minus 115 or something, a very short favorite in this fight. So I'm wondering, in your mind, who has the most different paths to victory? Like you mentioned, Usyk, if he gets inside, that's a W for him. But who, I guess, needs the fight to go their way the most, and who's got a little bit more margin for error?
Yeah, I think Usyk is the more versatile fighter. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So I would say Fury, what Fury's going to need to be able to do is he's going to need to be able to pop that jab. And he's also going to have to make sure that, he keeps Usyk, not from throwing a lot of punches. I think if he does that, then, he's going to look good. But Usyk has a number of different ways he can go. And Usyk also can tend to switch. He's a southpaw, but he can switch and fight out of a conventional stance if he wants, where Fury has done that before, but he's not really good at that. So I think Usyk has more, ways he can win the fight. Fury's, path to victory is clear. It's no doubt is clear. And his size alone is a path to victory, but he has to use that size the right way. And I think that that's something that, so maybe if we're going to say who has more limited opportunities, I think there's no question in this Fury.
Let me bounce around here a little bit because I got to take advantage of your expertise while we got you. Does Garcia's ability to generate revenue supersede the drug testing results. Haney doesn't appear to want to fight him again. What do you think Ryan does next?
Well, I think what I said from the first day when this test came out with the Ostarine, that it looked to me to be like a contaminated supplement. That's what I thought. Now, we don't know for sure. And until we find out, what the levels are, and the levels of the Ostarine are going to be so important here, because we're going to know, did he actually take a performance-enhancing drug to try to, who knows what he was trying to do to improve himself, or did he take a supplement that was tainted? I was told by people that the levels were low, but I have never seen the level, and nobody's reported the level, right? So that's what we don't know. But it seems Ostarine is not a drug that, it would seem he would take too often. Fighters have taken Ostarine in the past, but it's one that you tend to have to take in large quantities to have it be effective. And so I just don't see him having taken that. Now, here's what's going to happen. The New York Athletic Commission, there's strict liability. So he is going to have to prove, we know it was in his system. So he's going to have to prove that he did nothing and did not put it in his system. So he's going to have to get the supplements that he took and test them, and then say, hey, look, these supplements are tainted, and have the company that produced them find the lot number and show that other ones were tainted. That's what he's going to have to do.
Yeesh.
If that happens, then the fight is going to be a no decision no matter what, right? But if they find that he willfully took them, then there's a possibility that it could even be changed to a disqualification. He's going to get punished to some degree no matter what because of the strict liability. But if they find he willfully took them, of course, he's going to face a significant punishment, not so much with if it was a supplement.
Kevin, I keep going back to this thing you mentioned with Tyson Fury here just a minute ago about how his size is just such a decisive or an advantage in and of itself and a path to victory in and of itself. And then I'm going back to you talking about how in the Olympics there's heavyweights and super heavyweights, and then you think about UFC and there's kind of there's different caps on the weight classes there as well. Like, it seems like the last 25 years of fighting, especially, we've seen these guys get bigger and bigger and bigger. You mentioned how Usyk, even the small guy in the fight, is bigger than a lot of the great fighters from the golden age. Like, is part of the problem we've seen with the heavyweight division is when guys get that big, it becomes a lot less entertaining?
Yeah, I mean, and one of the reasons Fury is so good is he's big like that, and he can fight, and he can move. And that's what makes him good. But, yeah, like, I think of a guy, in the last 20 years, Nikolai Valuev, who was 7 foot tall and he was around 300 pounds. And, he was a strong guy, but he didn't have, you couldn't fight hard. He couldn't fight long. And he had no agility. So, you had to be right in front of him. If you could box and move, you just make him look silly. And I think that's, that's the trick. We look in the NFL, and when you're dropping an offensive lineman, you say, hey, I want a guy that's 6'7", 340 pounds to play left tackle, but can he move? Because these edge rushers are coming fast at you. And I think with the heavyweight boxers, that's what you want too. Why do we like welterweights? Well, because they're kind of at that distance where, hey, we know they're quick and they can throw a lot of punches, but they're big enough that when they hit, you can tell it hurts, right? And that's kind of where, we've been missing the heavyweights. I think back not that long ago, 30 years, right? Riddick Bowe was 6'5", 240, but wow, what an athlete. And, you had a lot of guys. Lennox Lewis was 6'5", 250. And you had a lot of guys that, could combine the size with the boxing ability. But that's a rare thing to get. And as MMA has risen, some of the guys that would have been boxers are now fighting in MMA. And so it depleted the heavyweight choices for boxing.
It's Kevin Iole. Go to
Fantastic
keviniole.com to get more information of anything you need to know about combat sports. Kevin, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Appreciate you guys. See you soon.
More Hurrdat Sports coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, here on the Pillar Exterior Stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Mike Sautter joining us now from Hurrdat Sports. Mike, what's going on?
Well, not much. Well, a lot.
A lot, actually.
Yeah, a lot.
There's quite a bit.
There's quite a bit going on. I don't know. Ready for baseball today. That's
Yeah.
where I'll be at baseball all day.
We're talking baseball. So where would Lincoln Northwest have ranked in your the greatest stories ever told?
It would have been really up there.
Were you not just blown away?
Yeah, it was amazing. They won 2 games. It was amazing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they got there was amazing. Like,
even just making
it
was. But them winning 2 and had a chance to be in, you're 1 game away from being in the state final it's a pretty good accomplishment for.
I just was trying to put that. Somebody was asking me over at Class C at the other field where that story would have ranked, and
it's up there.
It would have been way up there.
Yeah,
because you don't get a lot of Cinderellas anymore.
No, and people were the comparison-ish right now was with Gretna East girls soccer. That's different. Like, that's totally different because, that I saw people saying, "Oh, first year school, this is awesome." Come on, like, you got to know the back. You got to.
I think anybody that follows soccer
that knows
yeah, and they're going to be good for a while.
Yeah, Gretna East girls soccer was clearly the favorite before the season started. Like, no question. Yeah. This Lincoln Northwest baseball is a totally different conversation. And they're in year 2, but of a school.
Well,
but
they weren't even playing all varsity sports.
I know. Yeah.
So it's like it's
pretty good. Yeah.
They've been slow to come. I kind of cheer for them just because they're an underdog, but it's so far away.
Lincoln Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to market. I mean, it's going to Central City, and I'm just like, well, I'm still not here yet.
Yeah.
No, you're like you're west of the airport. It's far.
Yeah. It's as far north and west as you can get in Lincoln,
and still be in Lincoln.
Yeah, and it feels like it's definitely not in Lincoln. Like I went there saw Lincoln Southwest and Norfolk girls soccer play, and they played it at Lincoln Northwest.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this sucker is way out here.
Are you guys going?
It's really far. So yeah, it was a neat story, but Class C, you kind of looked before, if you're talking baseball, you looked in the best players are in the finals in their respective classes. Kind of. Maddox Meyer is the best player in Class C. And
I watched him pitch twice.
Yeah, and he's a dude. Like
Porter got a good one. That's the guy that I watched for Malcolm.
Yeah. He was touching 90. So on the mound.
First inning,
good player.
First inning, he touched 92 twice.
Yeah.
At UNO.
Yeah. So he was pretty good. I saw him then Monday? I saw him pitch. That was Monday. Was that Monday?
So
I don't know what day.
What day did I go to?
That was Monday, I think.
Yeah.
Monday.
Was Centura.
Yeah.
Central.
Yeah, Central City Centura. Yeah. They dropped the Fullerton part.
I like them. I just
Colonels.
I like the maroon trim. Somebody had on one of their coaches had on like what would be the new version of Cornerstones, the old Nike baseball shoe, the combo shoe, and they were maroon. They look so sweet. I was like, oh, I would like to wear.
Were those like the turf shoes?
Yes.
Oh, I love those.
With the little nubs.
Yeah.
They look
what did you say?
Nubs.
Oh,
they're like not quite. They're not quite spike. Or like, they're not quite.
They're spikeless golf shoes.
They were pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But he can pitch.
Yeah. No, he's good, and so we'll see him this morning. Mount Michael had to win twice.
They did, and back to back.
Yeah, against Lincoln Christian, and then a rain delay, whatever. So luckily,
that was the next game after the one I was at.
Luckily, I was at Werner.
Their coaches
with the rain
to the show. I didn't say him by name.
Everybody listens to the show.
Nah, I didn't say that. It's just, he told me. And you know what he called?
Everybody.
He said, "Hey, boss." I was like, nobody ever calls me that.
Really?
I get used to that.
I was at Werner Park. What was that? Wednesday, and then the rain came, and then I was like, okay, Papio South has turf, and this is going to take them a while to clean this up here.
I'm telling you, like Van Akron and those guys, he was busting tail.
Dudes were moving.
They do.
Like
I know I'm biased with Papio South.
You love Papio South.
I actually,
you do.
Some people over there, but they do a good job. Like they do a good job.
Yeah. Well, now their softball field isn't quite done yet, but the baseball field is done. It is nice. They did a really good job redoing that once they get actual bleachers in and stuff, and the concrete
it was funny too. I was talking to
it'll be the Van Akron family softball field or something is what they should name it after.
Yeah, I met his mom. She was leaving his house coming.
Van Akron Legacy Fields or
she was
something.
like, oh hey, you know my sons. And I was like, yeah. It's like I know exactly what you're talking about because you look just like them.
Bubba does everything.
It's weird because they're twin. I mean,
they look alike.
So, of course, there's a good chance that could happen.
But Bubba does all the work over there, though.
Really, Bubba's the man.
Assistant AD over there.
I know. So listen, my man, he must have taken the governor off his golf cart because
that thing was zipping.
It's fast. He was a moving and a shaking.
It might have just been one.
He's a good. I like it.
I saw Bubba at tennis yesterday,
making the rounds.
Yeah, I gotta go watch our kid.
Do you know off the top of your head is golf split? It's just
golf is split.
So C is in Columbus,
and A is in North Platte, and
I'm
B
not going
is
to watch A.
B is in Scotts Bluff.
I may go to Columbus.
I thought I'm
not going to Scotts Bluff.
Okay.
I wish. No, I know I'm not.
That course is great because it's right by like the big monument thing and stuff, kind of right on the foothill of it. I don't It's only one hill, but
Foothill singular.
Okay, so you should call that a mountain.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So, but it looks great. Like it's an awesome setting and scene and all that stuff. And they've had B out there forever. So I am thinking of going to Columbus because we have covered every other spring sport now, state championship. So I'm thinking that
that'd be pretty cool.
There's one spring sport one sport the entire year that we as a team have not covered. Only one.
Bowling.
Because there wasn't like set times, and it got over at like 11:30 at night, like the championship night. It just was an all day deal. And you didn't know what time it was going to kind of be or whatever. So it's hard to pin that down, but yeah, we did every sport state championship this year except for bowling.
How about quietly Norse 4x1 team getting 41-9 yesterday?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
41-9.
Norse could have a nice little boys spring here with a state championship in track, and if they win today in baseball, pretty good.
Yeah. Is something wrong with? I don't know if I can say this out loud. Is something wrong with Kale's arm?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard anything.
It's interesting to watch a guy that big play short.
Yeah, I think they just use.
He is
yeah. What? So I saw them play Gretna East the first time they played, and he was playing short then. And this is like a month ago. So I think maybe it's just like, hey, he's like our best athlete. Let's just have him be there. Probably.
I mean, that's generally what happens if you don't have a ton of.
He's a huge kid playing short.
His frame. I'm like, holy smokes.
Also, I mean, their catcher's good. They got a nice team.
They do.
Be good.
They really do. They're pretty complete.
Yeah. I mean, they were the favorite coming in, and obviously today.
Who are you riding with in A now?
That's awesome. Like, one, it's a rematch of last year. Two, they haven't played each other this year, Lincoln East and Millard West.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this like friendly rivalry there.
Is it friendly?
I think
it's different without. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's a lot of respect there.
Yeah.
I know from the coaches, there's a lot of respect both sides for sure. And I think some of the players. I was talking to Carter Mick the other day, and like he had nothing but positive. He was at Warner Park watching the game.
They're so deep.
So yeah, and East pitching Matt lines up really well. So Carter Mick's going to start today. I think I feel pretty good about that. And then you have Paul Shortridge that can come in and help out. And that dude, if you want to watch a guy just go to work, he doesn't throw 90, right? And he's a little guy. Like when I say low, is short. And
even Mick is like wispy thin.
Yeah,
they kind of defy.
Paul Shortridge gets the ball, throws the ball.
Oh.
He doesn't mess around. And it is like, if you want a game sped up, get that guy in on the mound, and it goes fast. And he beat Millard West last year.
They're consistently knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Man. That is you talk about long consistency of quality programs, even post Coach Ryan is Millard West.
Yeah, Millard West is always good.
They're always good.
Yeah.
And they're pretty deep pitching wise. I think they'll be fine. It'll probably be more of a by committee deal tonight. But when you have,
I mean, they've had some classics.
What time is that one if people want to go out to it? 7 o'clock?
I think 7.
Warner?
Right? Yeah, 12. Isn't it 12, 3:37? Something like that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
The middle one might be off. Is it
3:30? 3 or 3:30, something like that. Yeah. So the middle one is Class B, Gretna East and Norris. But that A game is really cool. They didn't get a chance to play each other because this is what happened. Millard South, the one loss the Lincoln East has is to Millard South this year. Now they avenged it multiple times. But it was at the Millard South invite or Millard West invite, one of those two. I was there, and it was like, oh, they upset them, and then Millard West and East didn't play each other in the final or whatever it may be. That was Millard South. So getting them to play each other is great because all season long they've been the two best teams. Kind of knew that coming into the year. And Tyson Lewis's ball that he hit the other night is probably still.
Speaking of a nice frame,
that dude
as a middle infielder.
Listen, and he's a leadoff guy, and he can run the bases.
He's got a great frame too,
and he gets on, and if
he's moving,
yeah, he's stealing. Like he's just going. He's probably going. So Miller West has a nice kind of top of the lineup. And, obviously Lincoln East top of the lineup is fantastic. And the one guy that like maybe doesn't get talked about enough for Lincoln East is Troy Peltz, who's awesome. He had a ball the other day that was super hard too. And he's like their fourth hitter, whatever. Their top Jeter Worsley is worth watching as well.
Do you think he plays football?
Jeter
next year?
Or yeah, in the fall. Yeah. I know there's talk about that, but I think he's quarterback, and
man, they have some good ones too.
They Lincoln East
on a nice little
has
run.
some young guys, like skilly guys too.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they do.
So
yes,
they always have linemen is kind of an issue, but if you get an athletic enough quarterback, that's the thing. Watching Jeter last year, quarterback, he can just run around and cause problems for you.
Yeah, they got some young guys that are
feet.
Really some pretty good pure passers.
Yeah. Jeter can, obviously he's a catcher and leadoff guy. How often do you see that? Not very. So
I do wonder how much he'll grow.
Jeter?
Yeah. I look at his brother's frame, and he's kind of wired Gumby too.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I still hope he closes for Nebraska today and tomorrow.
And then
last night I'm just like
AJ Vasco is the RBI leader in class, or broke the state record in RBIs, Class A record. And he's their third batter. Garrett Springer's a guy that can DHs, and the backup catcher. Oh, he's a Division I guy too, and he's like the backup catcher.
It's incredible.
So their top of their lineup's really, really, really strong. So there's a lot of Division I talent in that A game. Mike Valdivia is a guy going to Tulane from Millard West, second base. And then I'm blanking, third base pitcher. Ben Tiger is he's really nice.
Back again.
Too. And he will be if it gets to if Millard West has a lead, he'll come in and close the game. And he just throws straight gas.
Yeah.
Like nothing much. It's just like I'm gonna throw this thing hard.
If you can hit it, good luck.
Yeah, it's just gas. Like
it's much like basketball. How you want those guys to locally? It's the exact same way with baseball.
Oh, I've been banging on that drum since I was in high school. So for 20 years. That the Division I talent in the state of Nebraska is way better than anybody realizes. Outside of, I'm not saying you guys.
I do think baseball is by far and away now become the most specialized sport, though.
Yeah,
it's the one where
multiple.
Cam being as good as he was at both sports was
different.
It's an outlier now.
Yeah,
total outlier.
Doesn't happen. You usually if
they play year round.
Oh, 100%.
Well, so softball does and soccer.
But usually, if you're a dual sport guy, it's like you're just a super athlete. And if baseball is one of them, and you're an outfielder or something, and whatever you play in football or whatever your other sport is, but especially you don't see almost anyone go baseball, baseball.
So I think it was Chuck. It was somebody I was talking to about the High School Hall of Fame. Like it's rare now to see the football, baseball.
Yeah, I was.
Combo.
So I was talking to Stu, and I were talking the other day.
Oh, that's nice.
And we talk. It's fine. People always say that. Like, there's not an issue. Like, we get along great. Like, we talk all the time.
It's nice.
We just disagree on ways to do things. It's fine. It's no big deal.
Kind of like Scotty and the police officer this morning.
Right.
Just
I can't wait to read that statement.
I know. I'm trying to find it.
It's on Instagram.
Okay.
But they said, he was talking about athlete of the year. And it's like, who's even nominated? How many even two-sport guys were like really good in both sports? So obviously Carter Nelson's going to be one guy, and then Caleb Benning should be in the conversation. Find me some other people that are multiple sport guys that are perform at a very high level in multiple sports.
Did you think that?
I think the girls one is pretty much a lock. So Britt Prince.
Yeah.
I state cross country. She was on the 4x8 championship team.
You know the weird thing about her, as good as she is, I still forget about her accolades.
Yeah, There's a lot.
And I'm kind of desensitized. She's one of those people that held up her end of the deal in middle school.
She
was incredible.
Mm.
I mean, the
And-
minute she the minute she stepped in the gym, she was open.
A lot of people maybe don't know this, but she was probably her best sport was probably swimming.
Really? She
Mhm.
does have those long. You can tell. So maybe that's where she got those shoulders from.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
really good
Right?
swimmer.
Those swimmer shoulders are insane.
Do you see? They're like straight across. They're like
they're nuts.
When she was
you
young,
can put
she
a drink
was,
on there. It'll sit.
When
Yep.
she was young, she was a really, really good swimmer. So, yeah.
The more you know.
Someone told me that. I wasn't like watching 5th grade swimming or something.
What's her mom want to do now? She's not.
I don't know.
I mean, her and Bluter. What are they could do clinics.
Maybe they'll have a podcast.
What?
I have no idea.
Didn't that surprise you?
Lisa Bluter?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. But it's kind of like, all right, I've been doing this a long time. And like her assistant's been with her for 24 years. It's probably time for like
Also,
she is an OG.
Maybe kind of just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm never gonna have it any better than this.
I don't know.
Like that doesn't cross your mind?
Hey man, Taylor McCabe's coming.
It's not Caitlin Clark. I mean,
No, but she's coming though.
I'm just
She's
By the
waited
way,
her turn. She's waited her turn for a long time.
People love the long shots.
The WNBA is kind of being validated. It is tough sledding.
yeah.
I mean,
We used to
people
talk
thought-
about that after her first
It-
game.
It is tough sledding.
Well, like 35 or whatever the number was of draft picks, like half of them got cut.
Listen, 13 out of the 36 are the only ones that made rosters.
Right. That's more. Okay.
That's
so
insane.
A third of them made a roster
Yeah.
of
13 of
draft
36.
picks. Of draft picks. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's like only lottery picks in the NBA making the league.
Yeah.
We're only lottery.
Yeah.
picks.
Where did they
never
go
happened.
from there? Is there European league?
Overseas.
Overseas. Okay.
Overseas.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
There
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always it's
So
always
why do they have 3 rounds?
Yeah, they should just have one and call it a day.
two. You call it 2, but 3 is unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's like when the NBA used to have like 7 or whatever it was.
I don't even. How about
NBA
the NFL used to have like
12
or 14?
Yeah.
Well, NFL used to have 12.
Yeah, the NBA used to have, it might not have been 7, but it went deep, and you had guys that, I mean, you just 90% of those guys aren't making a roster. It's just,
But it gives you a chance, though.
I mean,
Draft is coming. When's the NBA draft coming up?
Couple weeks, because you have to be with. I think.
Oh yeah, you have
June
to be
3rd
out
is
by.
the
Yeah, you have to be
withdrawal
out by
deadline.
Out by basically the end of May. Yeah.
It's May 31st, June 3rd, somewhere in there, and then I think it's like the 12th. I think it's right
Man,
after that.
College
I
basketball.
was going to say the
recruiting,
12, but I might. Don't quote me. I might
College
be wrong.
basketball recruiting and roster management just never stops now. Just never ever stops.
Well, it'd be
Never, ever,
easier
ever.
for recruiting purposes
Yeah, but
is if you were like in a town that had good basketball talent at your level and recruited those guys
Here we go.
instead of letting them go
I'm
to
talking about-
other
I'm not talking
places in your
I'm not-
league
I'm talking
and
about.
then beat your butt all the time.
Yeah, that matters. That's different.
I think that would actually help people out
I
on,
would.
on the
I'm-
recruiting
I
trail.
got you on that. I know exactly where you're going on that, and I'm not commenting. But I do.
He's a
I'm
big-
not saying I disagree or agree.
Ravi's one of those
I
guys
probably
that likes to
disagree.
put his
I probably
pole in the
agree.
water at night and wake up and see what he gets. He's constantly baiting.
I
Just
got-
That thing wet.
Hey man,
I would have.
I have
if
to
it was
watch
me,
myself too all the time.
If
It's
it was
always
me
something.
personally, I would just have a hard time sitting there, watch people beat my head in with guys from my town all the time. Like I would have a hard time with that. That would be hard to swallow for me.
I don't know.
Personally, I don't know. Maybe other
Jaden
people.
Jackson was the Gatorade Player of the Year and was the best player in the senior class for a long, long time. And he's going to South Dakota State. Is that what you mean?
That's one example. Of what I mean. Yeah, there's actually a lot of them though. There's like a bunch of those examples.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And it seems like I would have
Yeah.
a hard time swallowing that if I was a coach
Right.
personally.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Travis just said a good comment. When you went
Dude,
last,
I haven't been on the YouTube page.
when
I
you
haven't
went
been on
last
the
pick
page.
in round 14 of the NFL draft, yeah, unlike now. So the Jets had the last pick of the NFL draft. Dude signed for like $4.1 million or something, like over his full contract. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh wait, what? Like, it was and he's like going to be the backup safety. And
I don't
he's
know
like
if you know
Mr.
this.
Irrelevant.
The 49ers drafted a Mr. Irrelevant recently.
About to find out.
It turned
We're about
out
to find out how irrelevant he is on Monday Night Football.
I mean, he seemed pretty relevant when they were playing in the Super Bowl last year. I don't know.
Opening night, Monday Night Football, he'll be irrelevant.
I mean, hopefully he'll be more relevant than Aaron Rodgers was for you last season.
Aaron Rodgers is going to show Mr. Irrelevant what a real quarterback looks like.
Give them nothing.
I feel like I'm not qualified to participate in
Don't worry, you're
quarterback
coming.
discussion.
Hey, you're coming too. We play you guys too.
I know. Well aware.
It's
I
on.
almost have that
It's
schedule
on.
memorized.
It's on. You know, the one thing I was upset about the Jets schedule was they put the dang Vikings game in London because I would have gone up there.
This is so weird, and Ravi kind of called me on it, so maybe it was just in context clues. I wouldn't call myself a Vikings fan, but I do kind of hope they do.
You have an affinity.
If there's like a team in the NFC, I don't know why it used to be Tampa Bay.
You can't like two teams, Damon. You can't like two teams.
You cannot like two teams.
Shane. They don't keep me up at night, and I wouldn't wear the gear like you do. And I don't
you
cheer
wear
for
two
them.
teams.
You don't wear any gear from any of your teams.
You'll never catch me
in any of your team's gears.
Going to a Vikings game unless you're playing the Steelers.
Never catch me wearing an adult jersey.
I do hope JJ McCarthy's good.
Let's say you're a JJ McCarthy guy.
I just want to be right. I don't care about that. Anything else.
The Lions are my team.
One of those things I want to.
The Lions are my team because I loved Barry Sanders. So, like where they're like,
man,
I root for those guys because
that's why you have like multiple teams.
That's why you and Shane get along.
And maybe it's
both
because
Lions fans.
And maybe it's because both of those teams sucked forever. So.
No, I think there might be a like a psyche thing there. You gotta like
attracted to
long live state baseball, bringing back shelled peanuts. Let's go.
There we go. We'll keep going here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Coming up next.
Peanuts, man. Fire.
How you doing?
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Mike Sautter here with us as well for this 9 o'clock hour, and we're brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. We were talking to our guy, Big A, earlier. Gave you
the business.
He gave you the, what's it called, the quadfecta?
Yeah, I don't know what you call that. I guess it's a box, right?
Yeah. So the trifecta
So
is the three. There's another. Is it the perfect? No, it's not the perfecto.
Superfecta.
Superfecta. That's it. There. I was like, I knew there's a fecta in there. That doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not a real word.
It's some semblance 2, 3, 5, and 9.
Yep. He likes. Was it? It was Uncle Heavy.
Yeah.
Uncle Heavy was the one that he likes a lot, but he also likes Chasing Freedom because that was his Derby pick.
Said he didn't want to get beat by a Derby horse.
By a guy that he picked for the Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's got to throw Mystic Dan in there as well as Just Steel as his 4 horses. So if you want to take advantage of our guy Big A's expertise, see if you get a chance to win with the Preakness as well. Get over to Warhorse Sportsbook either at the casino in Lincoln or Horseman's Park in Omaha, and you can bet on nearly every major sporting event. It's the best place in the state of Nebraska to place your sports bets. Go to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for a full list of details and house rules. That's Warhorse Sportsbook. No bets, no glory.
There's a lot going
I'm more
on.
of a screamer, fellas.
There's a lot going on this tomorrow night with the boxing and
yeah, we talked
Preakness,
to Iole earlier
golf.
with Usyk and Fury.
Who did he pick?
Usyk. He liked Usyk.
Really?
Yeah.
Fury's just a small fave.
Minus 115, I think. It's a shorty.
Massive human.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
I don't know how you take that dude out, right?
He's a big boy.
Especially when he can raise from the dead. I still am not over that.
He's also getting a little up there, kind of like.
I mean, Usyk's not young.
The Gypsy King.
He real quick.
You watch that documentary? Sorry.
No.
On Fury?
Yeah.
I've never been a fan.
I'm not
really
either.
No.
I was
for no real reason.
He's
other
got like
than
7 kids.
He doesn't fit my eye.
He got like 7 kids.
Yeah, that's okay.
He strikes me the wrong way. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know, just something about him. Real quick, there's a statement finally out from Scotty Scheffler regarding this morning's incident. I'm getting this from PGA Tour page on Twitter, just so there's context there. Scheffler said in his statement, "This morning I was proceeding as directed by police officers. It was a very chaotic situation, understandably so, considering the tragic accident that had occurred earlier, and there was a big misunderstanding of what I thought I was being asked to do. I never intended to disregard any of the instructions. I'm hopeful to put this to the side and focus on golf today. Of course, all of us involved in the tournament express our deepest sympathies to the family of the man who passed away in the earlier accident this morning. It truly puts everything in perspective."
So he was wrong.
It's one way to read that.
What? Why is that so funny?
Because that was not. It's okay. Ravi takes a drink.
That's a certainly one interpretation.
You don't think he was in the wrong? You think the cop was in the wrong, or what?
I think he probably.
Shane, should I?
We don't have to get into it.
I'm
tried
sorry, I
several
wasn't
times
listening
to distract
earlier.
you guys from this conversation.
When Sautter said that, I almost had to walk out.
I know, same here.
Ravi was like,
I still may walk out.
I'm gonna hit my monster.
No, I think that's one way to read that statement. That's not how I particularly read it, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. What?
How did you read it then? I don't even want to get into this, but that right there is going to get me back in.
Are we on the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody that reads it is on the same page.
Apparently not.
This dude is stubborn. All right.
So the cop was in the wrong.
So wait, how did
no, don't paint me into this.
Okay,
don't
sorry.
paint me into this
All right,
corner.
all right.
Okay.
All right.
There is.
I guess I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. I had to drop my kids off at school this morning.
No,
all that.
I don't. It's fine.
Do you guys want me to hit the break music?
How did you read it, Ravi?
I read it as he likely, like you said, misunderstood what was being asked of him. I also don't think that puts all of the onus squarely on Scotty Scheffler. Like, I think it could be still. I'm not saying 100% the cop's at fault or whatever. But like I said earlier, there's a pretty decent chance that Scheffler did something he probably shouldn't have done, and maybe the police officer did something they shouldn't have done as well.
Where did you get the police officer part?
Honestly, the context of the charges and being released as quickly, because from the statement. No, I can't.
You think he's just taking the high road?
Yes, I think he's taking responsibility for something so that he's trying to just move past the situation. Okay, because that's something that we like about people normally is they're like, hey, I'm taking ownership. I misunderstood what I was being asked of, and that's how we got to this place. But
big misunderstanding.
Yeah, obviously it was a big misunderstanding. He got arrested, right? But if there is a misunderstanding about a traffic situation here, I would like to believe, and maybe I'm wrong, I would like to believe there's a situation that a police officer could handle to de-escalate before somebody has to get arrested there. And when I look in the greater context of the statement and then everything else we know so far, this man in about 90 minutes was arrested, charged, and released. He's got multiple charges, right? If this is something where he was really out there in the wrong.
You know what I think happened?
What's that?
I'm purely speculating.
Yeah.
I think they wanted him to be held accountable for whatever it was that he did.
Yeah.
And I think on the back end, they turned around and did him a solid to get him back to golf because you weren't going to be above the law. So yeah, there's going to be multiple.
Fair.
I'm just telling you this.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
You weren't going to be above the law. You were acting a certain way that you brought this on yourself. So we're going to go ahead and handle it. But we'll still be cool and get you back out there. There's going to be multiple charges, and maybe in 3 or 4 weeks we can let this go. But we're going to let you know what you did was wrong. And what he said, what I hear him saying is, I know when I use words like big misunderstanding, that means I don't want to get into minutia and I got to eat it. Hey man, it's a misunderstanding.
Can it also be you don't want to throw somebody else under the bus?
No, he's not in position. If he was all the things that we alluded to
when the police report's out,
he's not in the position because at that point he's a civilian that has broken the law.
Fair.
So there is
there
is no number one. There's none of that. He's
okay, but there are varying degrees of breaking the law, right? Listen,
here,
hold on. Listen,
can I read?
There is just a second. There is he got charged with second degree assaulting an officer, which means intentional. That's what the second degree means. You read it off earlier, right? Mm-hmm. You're telling me that after intentionally hurting an officer is what they're saying they did. They decided, hey, we're cool and we're going to let you go.
Well, you could also have entertained what I said earlier, where maybe it wasn't going as fast, or the officer assumed some responsibility by trying to get in front of his vehicle.
Okay.
Right. And it has to fall under something. So yes, you did know I was in front of the vehicle. Go ahead.
Okay. Subject pulled into the westbound lanes where outbound traffic was flowing and to avoid backed up traffic. Detective Gillis was in the middle of the westbound lanes in full LMPD uniform and high visibility yellow reflective rain jacket. Detective Gillis stopped subject and attempted to give instructions. Subject refused to comply and accelerated forward, dragging Gillis to the ground. Detective Gillis suffered pain, swelling, and abrasions to his left wrist and knee. He was transferred to the hospital, whatever.
Okay.
That's the police report.
Okay.
So dude was standing in
So if
the
he-
lane and was like, hey, where are you going?
So if he ran down a police officer, we're
Basically.
cool letting him go in 90 minutes.
That's probably not okay. They
Now-
probably did him a solid to get him back there.
Okay,
Yeah.
in what world? Okay, like we know.
I would say that what I'm trying to say. Okay,
no, hold on,
Robbie. I think
I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong. I'm not trying to say that.
Maybe, hey, listen. Maybe at the end of the day, the police did work like good in this instance.
Maybe
they punished him. There was an infraction, and they met him halfway by saying, "Hey, we'll get you back."
Yeah,
that could be a thing. Maybe the officer didn't feel like his life was in danger, but he did step on the gas and he tried to impede his progress.
I will probably.
why is that so hard to?
Because if that's what really happened, I cannot believe they let him go. Like if that's what really that's just how I feel about it, right? If that's really what happened, if he stepped on the accelerator and hit a cop with his car, they let that dude go in 90 minutes. So I'm not saying that's the cop's fault, but why are they doing him a solid?
I'll say that
something doesn't make sense to me. There.
If Scotty Scheffler looked like you two and not me, he would not have been out in 90 minutes. I'm gonna say that.
I'm not even going there. I'm just. Saying,
I'm gonna go there.
The way police officers typically band together with their own. If he accelerated, and
they would have all been.
If he accelerated and hit a cop, how on earth is he out in 90 minutes?
That's
like something there doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe he only went from.
And I'm not saying it
10
doesn't
mile an hour to 15.
I'm not saying it doesn't make sense on the cop or doesn't make sense on Scotty Scheffler, but something there doesn't pass the sniff test for me.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at, telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up hour number 3 in the show for the week here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Mike Sautter here with us as well, and we're joined by Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. Verz, what's going on today, bud?
Not much, boys. We're slept in today. We didn't have lunch at Scott, so life is good, well rested.
What's sleeping in for you, Verz?
Sounds like you just woke up.
I got up. No, I did not just get up, Sautter. I got up at 6:30 instead of 3:30.
Oof.
That's sleeping in. So what time are you bringing the boys in? Are they in
Friday.
now?
Oh, they're going. Yeah. No. They kind of know this time of year. And I view sleep differently. I think you can catch up on sleep, so I try to store as much sleep right now as I can. So I know that's not how it goes.
Like
but
a
in my
bear?
mind-
What do you mean?
Yeah, you store.
In my mind, that's how it works.
You bank it.
In my mind, that's how it works. So when I get 2 hours during football season, then if I get 6 hours now, I'm tripling it, and I just store some of that.
I do that.
Incredible. Oh, incredible.
Like charging
you
batteries.
The mental gymnastic. I'm better having done this show this morning than before I came.
You've never banked sleep like that?
Banked?
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So I'm getting some stuff that I need for Monday, and there's a lady. She's driving a Mercedes-Benz.
A who?
And there's a Mercedes-Benz. And there's a little buddy here just working, and he's blowing stuff around, and she drives by.
Okay.
And she stops. Now, I'm going to, just to preface the story, she may at one time have been from the hood, y'all. Like really, really, really from the hood, y'all.
Okay.
And this dude is just working. And he se habla, like he ain't. She gets out and lights this dude up like a Christmas tree.
Oh my God.
When she drove by where he was blowing leaves and dust and stuff, and she's mad at him.
For blowing
and I'm just
under a
watching
car.
it right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. In her, the pretty black Mercedes. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's nice.
Okay.
But I know when I have the Bronco out and I see things going on that are going to cause damage to said Bronco, I go the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
And she just drove like right through his dust pile and just started screaming at him. She's still screaming at him.
Maybe she had to get to the golf course.
Oh,
she didn't. She told him, I'm on my way to get this detailed. I was like, well, he did you a favor. He made it dirtier than it is because it's clean right now. Yeah, she is giving my guy the business.
I do that after I wash my car and there's sprinkler systems are, going into the street, I swerve way out of the way because I don't want that
At
water
some
spot.
point, and I don't want you to get in trouble, so I'm going to ask you later. I just want to know, like, your deductive, what context clues you were using.
Yeah.
Don't say it out loud.
Stop. Just stop. Just stop.
We're still going over here.
Nope. No play-by-play. Ravi's uncomfortable. Maybe she has someplace to be.
I don't have anything to add right now.
Ravi gets uncomfortable easy. He must have had a good upbringing.
My parents loved me. I don't know.
You guys see a conflict though? Like two people get out and go at it.
Did like 4 or 5 other
Where you
cars go
from?
through there before? Everybody else was doing
You
it.
from Omaha? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from
He's a
Omaha.
Millard North
You
guy.
from Omaha originally?
Yeah.
Millard North guy.
Oh, where north?
Millard.
Oh, Millard.
Yep.
Millard. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mercedes. I mean, I kind of want to revisit that, but I don't.
Hey, Verz.
That was how my grandparents said it.
Verz, can you give us some context or tell us about the hurdling Termans, because Bennett Terman won another gold medal yesterday in the track. Like that's what they do, right? The family.
That's a bloodline thing, man.
Yeah.
The sister that married the psych though, Vrzal,
mm-hmm.
she was world class. Like she was Olympic trials type stuff.
Mm.
Like that's in your blood. Like running hurdles is in your blood, and they're good at it.
Very good.
I think she tore both hamstrings off the bone, which seems terrible and reinforces my position that you should never run long distances, let alone jump over things while you're running. So that's one for me. I win that one. But yeah, no, they're really good at it, and they work hard at it. Coach Terman does a great job of, and he best bet it up. Like there's things that the other hurdlers do, and then there's things that BT has to do. So and BT's just like, all right, dog, I'm gonna do this as fast as I can so this guy stops yelling at me. And then they just go. So good for BT though, he's a good kid.
Are you going you watching any state baseball or any state track?
I'd love to. We got into graduation season, so the red Tahoe will be running wild tonight. We got a midday catering, and then we got a late night catering.
You can put the baseball on the TV.
We've had too many beers for people catering. Mother-in-law caterings is what we call them for wedding receptions.
Oh,
can
so
you show up at 10 o'clock with 30 pizzas? Yeah, you bet.
Wow,
Yeah.
you must know them because that's
did Schaefer's like that.
Yeah, well, he does know Schaefer.
I'm just saying. I remember getting.
I wanted to come watch television late
I don't remember
at your place, and he go, "Oh, no, buddy, man. Friday night, man, I'll be gone because it wasn't football season."
Yep. Graduation season happens, and we get to going.
All right.
So yeah, we'll be open for lunch today, so come on down. We've got some guys coming in. I know having a couple beers ready. We'll have state baseball starts today, like the actual championship games.
Yep, noon. Yep, you should put it on the TV.
Yep, they'll be on. I'll put them on the TV.
Yeah.
We watch the soccer, watch Stabile get his 5 pizza. Now he'll.
What's the name of the pizza gonna be?
Mac and Z. So he will have a pizza. He takes the Scotty V4 cheese, and then we'll put pasta on the pizza, and then we'll cook that underneath the cheese.
Pasta?
So that
sounds
like
good.
noodles or macaroni.
Like the only pasta penne that we carry. There's no special add.
That's cute because I order it so much, so I should probably know what it looks like, right?
I think that's a fair assessment.
Gee, Christmas.
Did you say Jesus Christmas?
Gemini.
Are you nuts?
Oh.
No, I didn't. I
You know my one goal on here is to get you to cuss.
It's not happening. Even though
I get Shane to have to push the drop button.
There's more of a chance I would drive there to say something to you foul mouthed in person than it is for me to cuss on air.
Frick.
Like
challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
I asked him I just want these guys to know when I came in a couple weeks ago, and I said, "Do you realize you cussed on air?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you got 7 seconds." Like, who says that?
It was like 4 seconds past.
And Shane goes, "I just hope that was right at the end. I'm not
And it
sure. We've got to cut it off." That's like
about to get cut off right there.
It's like, we're gonna be all right. We were all right, weren't we, Shane?
Shane is good
Don't
at
put
his
that
job.
crap on
I got
me.
full faith in him.
Oh yeah. Shane working the buttons.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I hope you have I hope so. Because you're well rested, does that mean you're going to be a little more? Are you in a
Friendly?
better mood? Well, Sautter said friendly. Are you going to be in a little bit better mood, or would you like to take the remaining minute to get on Sautter?
Listen, for you two turds. You think I'm this mean person?
You're actually great.
Mikey, what birthday party did I get invited to unsolicited?
My kids, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously a very nice human being if children like
For
me.
some reason, they like you. I don't know why.
Wow.
Both
Yeah.
of my kids.
Wow.
When my
Came running to the door when I came in. I got a big hug. It was a great
my
deal.
4-year-old doesn't run up to people very often and hug them,
Zoe
and
gives this
she
dude
did with
dab,
that.
and she really isn't even like.
Yeah.
Zoe gives me heat. Like, me and Zoe have a taunting relationship. She likes when I taunt her. She likes when I taunt her and I make her smile, and I can say, "Ah, you smiled." And then, of course, her response is, "No, I didn't." I'm like, "Yeah, you did."
She is a Benning.
Listen, you turds.
I know, right?
That what?
I think you're the only Benning, though, spreading propaganda, because Ms. B and I are Facebook friends.
Hey, me too.
She likes me.
Nah, I'm a propaganda.
I gave her a hug
I'll tell
once.
you guys got me nailed today, man. I mean, you get all my character traits.
Remember that time I gave her a hug?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you headed back out to baseball, DB? Did
I don't-
Central City get the boot?
Yeah, they ran into a buzzsaw known as
Malcolm. The Clippers.
I talked to Twig.
We had a little bit of tie to the old Malcolm Clippers and might have stopped in that dinner the other night.
Yeah, I told Twig the best thing he did was making you quit.
That's fair. You can't argue that. Build it and then leave. And then leave it for the next guy. Be like, good luck.
Yeah, he's leading a good life,
Hey.
man. He looked good.
All righty,
Are
Verse.
you lying?
No, he did look
Has
good.
Twig has wintered well.
Wow. Well, that's the show for today, Birds. We appreciate it as
All right,
always.
all right then, buddy.
We'll talk to you later.
Are you coming over?
Yeah.
That's Hurrdat Sports Radio for the week. We'll talk to you on Monday.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.